model vehicle, everything on it may need software to run. But there is absolutely no excuse for you not being able to revert back to the last known version that was in the car. I do not believe there is a circumstance where the vehicle is so screwed up because the version of software that it had in February of 2023 was so behind that vehicle is now fundamentally unfit to be on a road even. That's ridiculous. The ability to roll back a version of software to an older version, if the update that you put on is an update that screwed it up, this is something that has been more than perfected in the modern day. And to not implement it into a vehicle that costs over $60,000 to the point where the entire 4,000-pound hunk of metal needs to be towed and you no longer have a method of transportation because of that, there's no excuse for it. Is a car more complex than a bike? 100%. Is there any excuse for an update not working, causing your vehicle to not function, stranding you where you are? Absolutely not. There is no revolution that is happening from the time that you purchased that car to the time that the update failed that is going to, be so catastrophic that your car cannot make your wheel do this. One of the things that bothers me a lot is that every time we move to a new technology paradigm, we accept less freedom. We accept that things are going to suck more in ways that they don't have to suck. One example that you may be able to be a little bit more in tune for if you don't build schizo like me, is something like a smartphone. Smartphones are essentially computers. This is not like a cell phone. It's not anything special. This is a computer with a radio. That's what it is. It's a computer with a radio that fits in your pocket. Essentially what it is. When it comes to a desktop computer, in the year 2000, if you were building a desktop computer, if you went to Newegg.com back then to build a desktop computer, you would actually have to do serious work to figure out how to buy a computer that you could not install an operating system of your choice on. Back then, if you want to buy a computer to install Windows XP, Windows 2000, if you want to install DOS, you want to install SUSE Linux 8.1, you want to install Gentoo if you're that type of crazy person that wants to wait 3 days for your stage 1 carball to compile and all that kind of stuff, you can do that. You literally have to do work to find a PC on Newegg.com that you can only install certain people's operating systems on. Yet when it comes to smartphones, which are essentially computers with a radio and a little bit smaller, we accept the fact that the bootloaders often come locked. The bootloader being locked means that you cannot install an operating system of your choice. There are even companies that used to brag about the fact that they allowed you to install an operating system of your choice in the device, like ASUS, that have decided to stop allowing you to do that. They took away the tool that allows you to unlock the bootloader on the device, and they kept changes to it. They kept pushing back the date and pushing back the date and pushing back the date that the unlocking tool be available again. And now they don't even make mention of that at all. People have been waiting months for the ability to unlock their phone, and they can't. They can't install an operating system of their choice on a piece of hardware that a company told them they would be able to do before they gave them $600. That's disgusting. There is no technological reason that you cannot install an operating system of your choice on simply because it is a smaller computer does not mean that there is any good reason for you to have less freedom. In modern times, we have come to accept, and dare I say expect, that you get less freedom, less functionality, and more shit.
Okay.
That's the truth. There is absolutely no reason for you to have less freedom. Same thing when it comes to locking. How about that? Idea
Are you dumb? You're gonna hot drop me?
Computer and you pay full price that computer will come locked with internet certified. Can you imagine buying a gateway 2002?
This is dumb.
Literally only being allowed to use that gateway with Earthbound.
I haven't even been on this. The first game that I'm on, and I'm gonna get a hot drop off the start.
But that is the norm. You can easily go to a carrier. You could pay full price for the phone, no contract, no nothing else. You go to T-Mobile, buy a Pixel, pay full price. It has a lock. You call them because you want to unlock it to install an operating system of your choice. You opened it, and they say, "Oh yeah, we'll unlock in 24 hours." And 2 days pass, not unlocked. A week pass, not unlocked. Call again. "Oh yeah, we'll unlock it for you," and then another week passes, not unlocked. T-Mobile sucks. We've accepted the fact in modern times that you have less freedom for no good reason. And we accept that things have to suck for no good reason. Simply because this car uses an electric drivetrain does not mean that this should be expected. Even people that despise electric vehicles, hate electric motors, every fiber of their being, should not accept this. They shouldn't say, yeah, that's normal for electric vehicles. What they should say is, yeah, Ford had some pretty crappy engineering doing that. I hate electric vehicles, and I hate electric motors. But simultaneously, what the fuck? The reason I say that is because if we accept this as normal simply because it is an electric vehicle, and we don't blame who should actually blame for it, which is whoever the fuck decided to engineer the car this way, this type of engineering will have a scapegoat. Oh, that's EVs that suck. And that engineering will not be scrutinized to the extent that it should be, and it will spread to other devices and will spread to other areas. I personally do not want any other area of my life to be invaded by this Windows 10 reboots in the middle of a live stream and then corrupts your entire system bullshit. It was bad enough when it happened to my $500 computer. I don't feel like that happened to a $60,000 vehicle. I don't like the idea of electric vehicles being a scapegoat for what is crappy engineering and, at the end of the day, more importantly, crappy choices. This is not inherent to the technology. As I said, my electric bike, you do not have to update the firmware on it ever. Do this. Is it doing this? Yes, it's doing that. Okay, cool, we're good. I'm done. Now, I understand. I get it. You know, people get ours are much more complex than electric bike. You're right. There's no excuse for why you can't simply have a piece of memory on there that contains your last known good update when you did everything properly, you did a checksum check to make sure that it's the exact same uncorrupted operating system you download from Ford, and revert to that in the case that an update is failed. For a vehicle that costs over $60,000, to not have that level of redundancy back up in there, that's a choice. That's an engineering choice. And the people making those engineering choices are the same people that make these engineering choices when it comes to an internal combustion engine car. This is a mindset, and this is a mentality that is invading every single area of modern electronics, modern technology, and modern life. And the part that bothers me and pisses me off the most is when people pretend that this is like, it's just an electric vehicle. Because it's not. You see this subscription bullshit, this less reliability bullshit, this everything made to break bullshit, this everything made to be replaced in a year or two, this is not something that is simply inherent to electric vehicles. This is something that...
Who are you getting hit by?
Something that is happening everywhere.
No one.
And I don't want...
Why does your health keep going down?
One specific niche industry to be the scapegoat.
It's my stomach.
Because if you're allowed to attack all that scapegoat,
But I
you're going to
actually-
be the problem is the unification of virtual whether it is platform streaming services that claim that what you were doing is purchasing something, but then change the definition of purchase something is 22 of a goddamn EULA. Or a smartphone manufacturer saying you're not allowed to install an operating system of your choice on the device that you already paid $1,100 for, and the carrier is happy to lie about your ability to unlock it. The fact that a manufacturer can brag that you're able to unlock the bootloader on the device, then take away the ability to install an operating system of your choice after the sale. This is something that we are seeing with tractors. This is something we see with medical equipment. This is something we see with Apple products and virtually everything. And it is not something that...
Who are you shooting at?
Vehicles. And this is until Ford not only fixes this, but tells us exactly what they have done to ensure that this will never happen again on this product. He calls whatever is responsible for this. If there is no redundancy built into the memory, and put some sort of redundant shit in there, and explains what they will do to ensure this will never happen again, don't give them a dime. Honestly, don't give them a dime. Because they've proven that even when they want you to be able to download the car, you can't download the car. It's funny, because like back then when they would say, you wouldn't download a car, I really thought to myself, yeah, you're right, I wouldn't download a car. Never thought I would live in an era where it's actually mandatory to download the car. And, fun times, right? Fun. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye. Let me know what you
Do
think
you
in the
have any
comments down
heavy ammo that I can spare?
No. I'm still looking for more heavy ammo. How much heavy ammo do you have?
None.
Heavy ammo here.
Save that for me. It's go time.
Did you just get hit by something? Why the fuck does your health keep going down? The fuck
If someone were to
What's
hit
up, guys? My name is Jake, and welcome to the 22nd episode of Bankrupt. There's a good chance that you've either been to...
Then why does your health go down is what I fucking asked.
Their presence across the United States has been enormous, outpacing other theme park operators like Disney, Universal, and Cedar Fair.
Are they coming?
Rides and park people.
Yes.
In fact,
We should reverse out of here.
Park operating in the whole world, with many of its parks beloved by fans. But unlike all of those other companies, Six Flags has
Go back down that thing. We'll get in our car and we'll go.
For decades. It has seemingly always been through a revolving door of corporate owners making terrible decisions. There was even
I'm not getting into a
time
battle
where
with us
that
pinned in
financial
there like
pressure
that.
became too severe. They declared bankruptcy altogether, leaving behind full theme parks abandoned or demolishing them. So let's take a look at the history behind this colossal movement. Figure out why they've been struggling for so long and find out where they're going, especially given the headline-grabbing merger their once fierce competitor. This is Six Flags. This episode of Bankrupt is sponsored by Incognito. Use code BRIGHTSUN at the link below to get an exclusive 60% off an annual plan. In 1955, Walt Disney and his company opened Disneyland in Anaheim, California, arguably one of the world's first theme parks. It was obviously a massive success, and it showed how popular and profitable an amusement park enterprise like this can be. So, its success inspired developers to replicate this type of development project.
Are you waiting for that replicator?
One of those would-be developers was a man named Angus Wynn, a 47-year-old Texas-based businessman who mainly developed large-scale residential projects. Wynn and his associates were looking for ways to finance a new industrial park. And seeing the success of Disney over in California, well, he thought that building his own theme park might be the revenue generator that he needed to see through his other projects. So,
move!
Just west of Dallas, Arlington, Texas, Wynn built Six Flags in Texas, which opened in August of 1961. It was a humble little park, and it shared a lot in common with Disney, both in shape, its layout, the divided lands, themed attractions, and even a train running through it. Those lands were divided into 6 different nations that
I'm trying to craft you. I don't know why you jumped out. You were getting shot at and you jumped out.
And that's where Six Flags started. The park was a big hit, and several hundreds of thousands of people flocked to it. In fact, it was much more of a hit than originally anticipated. Seeing it as a close-by, more affordable alternative to Disneyland, along with its own roster of fun attractions, it was a no-brainer for many locals. So with all of this interest and a huge amount of cash coming through the door, Wynn had an epiphany. Maybe instead of running an amusement park for a couple of years just to build an industrial development over it, he thought, maybe the park could be its own long-term business in of itself. So he continued to expand the park with new rides and creating even more appeal, which in turn saw an ever-growing attendance. And this wasn't just a lazy attempt either. They were investing in new attractions that were designed to excite guests, like introducing the world's first log flume ride, and an advanced steel mine train coaster being one of the first in America. But Angus Wynn...
Where the fuck is that thing at?
...the person suited for the theme park business. And in 1966, he decided to cash out and sold Six Flags to the Pennsylvania Railroad Company, which acquired the controlling shares. With a new deep-pocketed parent corporation, they quickly sought out to expand even further, opening another park called Six Flags Over Georgia a year later. With even more investors coming in and taking larger ownership stakes, yet another park was opened in 1971, this one just outside of St. Louis called Six Flags Over Mid-America. These were all popular parks, and the company wanted to...
You're gonna have no time. You have to just jump in and run.
However, their strategy going forward was not to put up a bunch of capital to construct brand new properties. No, they would instead buy out existing parks.
Zipline,
basically the guiding growth philosophy for Six Flags going forward. And they first did this in 1975 with Astroworld in Houston, Texas. They continued on with Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey, and Magic Mountain in Valencia, California. All 3 of these parks were independent properties which had all been opened within the last 11 years. This all capped off a successful growth period for Six Flags through the 1970s. And encouraged management to keep
There's
going.
boxes unopened over
on
here.
That note, consistent management was never really a thing for the Six Flags Corporation. New majority shareholders would take over like a revolving door, most of them with absolutely no experience in the theme park business. And we already saw this with Penn Central. This trend continued with the Bally Manufacturing Corporation in 1982. They purchased the controlling shares of Six Flags from Penn Central for just a little over $147 million. Really a pretty small purchase price for a company that analysts estimated was making around $310 million with a $35 million profit. And the company didn't sit still. They kept innovating from here.
You don't need that
opening
backpack.
The world's first water rapid ride, Astroworld, and opened Six Flags Great America in North Chicago. They were also now experimenting with characters in their parks.
Well, there's a bunch of people in there. I think we should go around this.
The Looney Tunes character. This was a great way to appeal to families and better compete with Disney, which by this point had a massive property in Central Florida with 2 major theme parks and a third on the way. But Bally wouldn't hold on to the company for too much longer.
the private equity firm Restway Capital Corporation had purchased the company for $617 million through a leveraged buyout.
Really?
This was in 1987.
Nah.
And it showed how valuable
I'm not-
Six Flags
I'm not going through that
was.
building.
Seeing a
Hell no.
$470 million valuation
Going around this edge.
in 5 years. Six Flags was
I'm not going inside to get
offering
trapped there.
and a clean,
There's a,
inviting, and amusement-filled environment that was both cheaper than Disney and closer to home. Six Flags parks weren't necessarily something their guests would fly or travel long distances to go to, but they were comfortable and fun.
Plus I have that
for
to
those
drop
who
in
didn't
right
want
now.
to or couldn't afford to commit to traveling all the
I
way
gotta be outside for that.
I think he spawned in. Just without the,
I'm getting shot at.
Over 17 million combined guests with revenue of around 400 million.
You want to go back and go through now, or no?
Titan Time Warner wanted to
they
and they were now buying up shares, becoming a large.
Are they coming on us? Are we going down to them?
Further strengthened their partnership with Warner Brothers.
No, but we have to.
We have to either go there now, or are we going the other way?
Six Flags Parks
I mean,
began holding
give
Looney
us our-
Tunes themed
Do whatever you
events.
gotta do to get out.
Would continue to open new attractions across their portfolio, including some larger roller coasters like Ultra Twister and Astroworld, Viper at Magic Mountain.
I'm using the launch pad.
World's tallest wooden roller coaster, which opened at Six Flags in Texas. This also
I'm sorry,
cemented the
there were
brand
more
as a place for theme park first.
Sorry.
A utopia for
No
a
worries.
mature crowd ready to indulge.
We should have
in
moved way
serious
quicker than that.
one of the only ways to do so in all of America, but especially if you were local to one of these parks. Though, once again, the company would change hands, this time being split between three major shareholders. Two investment firms owning a combined 50%, and Time Warner owning the other half. While Six Flags was growing and looked like a stable brand, the truth was, it was riddled with high-interest debt and had a little cash in reserves. The company also had some duds. Through the 70s, they owned a few wax museums, one even being in Orlando, Florida. Then there was Six Flags Atlantis, where they had purchased a half-finished water park in Hollywood, Florida. It only lasted for 9 years. Then there was the extremely disastrous Auto World in Flint, Michigan. It cost $70 million to build and only lasted for 6 months before switching to seasonal openings, then being demolished altogether 10 years later. There was also Six Flags Power Plants, an actually really neat and creative attempt at an indoor theme park that was located in Baltimore. It too would only last a few years. The point is, Six Flags didn't always get it right, and all of this debt was weighing down what could be a very profitable company. So when its new deal went down, these along with added investments to parks, as well as a lot of safety net cash to keep them afloat. The newly formed Six Flags Theme Parks Inc. once again hungry for growth. Warner had already invested $200 million into the brand, and the company introduced a few new popular attractions through the early 90s, such as the Right Stuff Mach 1 simulator ride, Z-Force, as well as the very popular and technologically advanced Batman the Ride. But it wasn't just thrills, as the company opened other attractions and even a water park across the highway from Six Flags to Texas. All of this was driving an attractive proposition for potential theme park guests, drawing them in with really good marketing and a genuinely good portfolio of rides and attractions. This was also a time where Six Flags had now become a culturally significant brand, with their parks very popular with the young adults and even celebrities, hosting star-studded events or even birthday parties, many of which at Magic Mountain. In 1993, Time Warner would ultimately opt to buy out the other investors and take 100% control over the company, bringing it under their own corporate umbrella. Across all of their parks, combined annual attendance was now an impressive 22 million people. 2 years later, though, in 1995, Time Warner apparently decided to give up full control and sell 51% of their shares to an investment company and spin it off as its own corporation. By doing this, Time Warner would leave a lot of their own corporate debt with the departing company. This change in leadership would only last a few years and see some minor changes. By now it was 1998, and Six Flags was in the crosshairs of yet another potential corporate takeover. This time it was Premier Parks. Premier, formerly known as the Chirico Group, was a large real estate development company which, like Six Flags, pivoted into an amusement park company after it had great success in acquiring other small theme parks. By the 1990s, they were hungry, buying up other entertainment companies and acquiring large theme park assets like Darien Lake, Riverside Park, and Geauga. They were looking to grow and loved the brand Six Flags built. So, very much not an April Fool's joke, Premier Parks had acquired Six Flags on April 1st, 1998 for $1.8 billion. But this deal had a lot of risk to it. It was the largest acquisition deal in theme park history, and Premier would put up over $700 million in cash, though they would also take out over $800 million in debt. They were gambling it all on the prospect that Six Flags would generate enough cash to pay it off in the future, and this was already on top of the decades of existing debt the company was selling. But this deal also meant that Six Flags would be taking on a sizable portfolio of amusement parks that Premier already owned. And over the next couple of years, many of those parks would be slowly rebranded into Six Flags. Geauga Lake would become Six Flags Ohio, New Marine World would become Six Flags Marine World, and Kentucky Kingdom would become Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom. This is just to name a few. The company had more than doubled in size, and Premier had gone all in on the Six Flags brand, resolving their own name, operating it all under Six Flags Theme Parks Inc. Though executives from Premier believed that the company needed some fixing, as they thought past owners had not provided enough capital for new attractions and didn't market enough to families. They were also making efforts outside of America, now expanding with Six Flags Mexico, a park in Montreal, Canada, and even overseas with Six Flags Poland. By 2001, they also grew their Six Flags Ohio park after acquiring the SeaWorld across the lake, turning it into one massive property. In fact, it became the largest theme park in the world, though a costly one to operate. New rides were opening across the chain, as well as some notable coasters like Goliath at Magic Mountain, the longest and fastest closed-circuit coaster in the world, the unique Superman Krypton Coaster, a Fortress coaster at Fiesta, Texas, Superman Ride of Steel at Six Flags America, Nitro at Great America, being regarded as one of the best roller coasters in the whole world, and Superman El Ultimo Escape, the tallest and fastest coaster in Latin America. These were all innovative and record-breaking attractions, and there were many more that opened during this time. Six Flags was also now doing Fright Fest as well as Winter Lights, all seasonal events that were very popular. Six Flags New Orleans was brought on during this time, and really the whole company seemed to have injected a lot of excitement into the brand. It was truly a great time to be an amusement park fan, and I remember visiting Darien Lake as a kid at this point, and absolutely having a blast.
In terms of national brand name recognition, Six Flags is right up there with, and even edging out Disney. In a recent study, Six Flags scored higher than even Disney World, SeaWorld, and Disneyland in aided awareness. And Six Flags even edged both Disney parks as the favorite theme park.
But despite all of the excitement around these investments, the company's financial situation was not looking great. Six Flags had continued to spend so much money on both in-park growth and external growth, buying all sorts of independent theme parks around the world. Now that would be fine if they had tons of cash in reserve and had a robust business plan on how all of these new acquisitions would benefit the company. Remember, Six Flags was making all of these growth investments while still having a lot of debt that they were paying off. But at the same time, they weren't paying that debt off because they were in negative cash flow since their acquisition. And they were making all of these growth investments under the assumption that nothing would go catastrophically wrong. Following the events of September 11, 2001, tourism declined dramatically. The company's stock took a beating and attendance dropped off. Not great for the largest theme park operator in the world that was responsible for 37 parks and 47,000 seasonal and full-time employees. Meanwhile, during this downturn, billionaire Dan Snyder began buying stock in Six Flags, quickly becoming a major shareholder. But even with his financial help, Six Flags found themselves in a very poor financial situation. After years of capital expenditure in the form of growth, as well as the massive amount of debt Premier took out to buy the company, Six Flags continued to have one bad season after another in terms of attendance. Their year-over-year sales were stagnant, even declining, with their net losses mounting. By 2004, the company had lost over $460 million. But that wasn't even the worst part. Worse was that the company was in over $2.3 billion in debt, and they were making enormous monthly interest and debt payments. So instead of continuing the trend of growth, they instead began to downsize. They sold their largest theme park in the world, Six Flags Worlds of Adventure, to their fierce rival, Cedar Fair. They also sold off all but one of their European parks, all of which had just been rebranded to Six Flags a few years prior. Now, these sales did contribute to the company's goal of paying down that debt.
Why are you doing that to me?
The dire straits wouldn't end here. Investors, mainly the two largest shareholders, including Dan Snyder, were not satisfied about the company's current trends, and they started a proxy war within the company, demanding change and seats for themselves on the board. Dan Snyder's company, Red Zone, ultimately got their way, instituting sweeping changes with a new board of directors and a new CEO. But the company was still in a bad position. In 2005, Six Flags New Orleans had just been hit by Hurricane Katrina, essentially destroying the entire park. That was obviously a whole other story in of itself that I made an entire documentary. You can of course stream it on a few different platforms, including Amazon Prime Video. Six Flags was not in a position to save the park, and it was ultimately left abandoned, as was Astroworld in Houston, Texas. Despite it ranking as one of the highest attended parks in the chain, Six Flags decided it would be more cost-effective to close the park permanently and just demolish it. Six Flags ultimately sold the land for $77 million in 2006, but that was only after they spent $20 million to just demolish it. The new corporate strategy was to focus on families and away from teens and adults, though that was a little hard as they had already spent millions building headlining attractions for that demographic. Overall, a higher emphasis would be put on customer service and cleaning up their parks, which over the last few years had declined quite significantly. At least they had some truly sensational marketing during this time. Still though, the company would continue to sell off their property. But this did little to deter what many saw was an inevitability. Six Flags even stated in their 2008 annual report that, quote, "There is substantial doubt about our ability to continue as a going concern unless a successful restructuring occurs." They go on to say that there is a high likelihood that the company would file for Chapter 11, as they ended the year with a little over $1 billion in revenue, though posted a $112 million loss. As their stock price sank to under $1,
I got the sniper.
Six Flags would be delisted from the New York Stock Exchange, and with the recession weighing heavily on the consumer base, the company was in a critical point. After
Give me a
failing
body
debt
to shoot.
payments, on June 13, 2009, Six Flags had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. At the time,
I got
Six
the
Flags was in
sniper.
a little over $2.4 billion.
Give me a body to
The
shoot.
company quickly announced they would restructure in hopes of emerging
Give me
as
a body
brand
to shoot.
that would actually make money. And the first line of action was
I got
to
the
drop the lease
sniper.
for Kentucky Kingdom. By April of 2010,
Give me a body
the
to
judge
shoot.
approved the company's new plan, with new investors coming in and providing cash, while
Give
Dan
me a body
Snyder
to
was
shoot.
ousted from the board. Their stock would be relisted on the New York Stock Exchange at around $9.
Give me a body to shoot.
This new cash from investors would pay off around
I
$1
got the
billion
sniper.
worth of their existing debt. Definitely a better place to start from. So, with a new plan for the future to cater more to the family market, the company officially emerged from bankruptcy on May 3rd that year. Things were actually looking good for the company after this too. Six Flags now had 19 parks across North America. By 2014, revenue had consistently increased to $1.1 billion. And that year, they actually made a profit. As a result, their stock was up too, climbing 300% since they were relisted. Once again, though, management thought it would be best to start expanding. After all, it wouldn't be corporate America without the prospect of infinite growth, right? The company signed a deal with a development partner to build Six Flags parks in China. In fact, the company was planning a significant presence overseas, planning up to 10 parks in China, a water park in Vietnam, along with a park that was in various stages of development in Dubai. This would be Six Flags' growth strategy moving forward, almost entirely international, because that worked so well the first time. Domestically, well, they would see little growth, aside from a leasing agreement for Frontier City and Darien Lake in 2018, plus a few water. But revenue domestically was pretty solid, with a healthy net income and 20% margins in 2017. But this was also in part due to the lack of investment in their parks. Fans were beginning to get annoyed at how many of the new offerings seemed to lack innovation and vision.
To fight off to our
all
west.
IP-based, off-the-shelf rides. In fairness, though, they did clean up some of their parks and invest in some new and well-received attractions like Twisted Colossus, Max Force, and the Joker. While their stock price rose, the company then decided it would be a good idea to try and buy their competitor, Cedar Fair. Yeah, except they didn't have nearly enough money to commit to their $4 billion bid, instead offering the majority of it in the form of Six Flags stock. Cedar Fair, of course, turned this offer down. It was a very strange move, and this corporate mentality seemed to favor shareholders and stock value above everything else. By 2019, attendance and revenue only climbed 2%, while in-park spending, sponsorships, and net income all had fallen. As a result, their stock took a massive hit, the largest single drop in recent Six Flags history. The new parks that were recently brought on ultimately did little to bolster their revenue. And by early 2020, it was announced that not only was the Dubai park now canceled, but so was their entire future plans for a China expansion. 10 parks
You want to do it?
all with a strategic partner, all dead. The
Go.
company would just
Follow
eat
you.
those losses. Though that was probably the smart move, as 2020 would prove to be a perilous year.
There's someone in there, I
Like
promise you.
physical entertainment around the world, Six Flags was forced to shut their parks temporarily, and as a result, saw a massive decline.
Get down below us.
By the end of the year, they had posted a net loss of over $423 million. Though attendance and revenue did rebound by 2021. The same year, the board elected a new CEO, Salim Bassoul. He began instituting new cost-cutting measures company-wide, and the lack of new attractions would only get worse, all while they raised prices and cut jobs. What really infuriated fans during this time, aside from $45 regular parking, was the future outlook by their CEO on what Six Flags could become. See, they wanted Six Flags to be a premium, family-friendly, focused experience. Executives believed that Six Flags was remarkably undervaluing itself in terms of tickets and season pass prices. And to be fair, there is some truth to that. So those prices went up, but they did so without adding anything of substantial value. Focus was put on seasonal events, something corporate could easily throw together instead of actual rides, which is what most critics claim would be the actual way to bring actual fans. And I mean, it makes sense. It's pretty risky to raise the price for a product
I'm gonna try to look for more ammo.
while giving the same experience. Six Flags was not anywhere near a premium Disney or Universal-like product, and the result of this was pretty devastating. Between 2021 and 2022, attendance across all of their parks fell 26%, from 27 million in 2021 to just 20 million in 2022. As a result, revenue and net income fell.
How are you down?
10% and 16% respectively. And once again, Six Flags debt reached back up to $3.3 billion. This was a brutal decline, as it showed fans were not returning like executives had hoped, and Six Flags would continue their
Dude, what in the fuck?
financial underperformance. Remember,
There was no reason you wanted to go that other way and then you went back to go shoot some dudes and got killed?
after the pandemic,
Holy
people were
fuck.
eager to get out. For comparison,
What a
Cedar
waste
Fair
of my
had an
time.
overall attendance of 19.4 million people in 2021, but they saw a massive increase to nearly 27 million guests in 2022. And this was all while Cedar Fair has 4 less parks. So Six Flags' numbers were just completely backwards. Clearly, turning Six Flags into a premium destination without giving the parks anything tangibly premium was a complete miss. And once again, the company was struggling to figure out what the path forward would look like. 2023 was shaping out to be another rough year for the company, with attendance and in-park spending down across the board. With little new attractions to show for, many didn't see any reason to return to a Six Flags park, especially since it was so much more expensive. The company was in a declining situation, one which had brought its overall market valuation down to a point, in fact, where a merger was possible. In a move almost nobody saw coming, on November 2nd, 2023, it was announced that Cedar Fair, Six Flags' longtime competitor, were going to join forces and merge the two companies. It was marketed as a merger of equals, bringing the two regional theme park giants together as one $8 billion company. Cedar Fair and its investors were going to have controlling shares over the company, owning 51% with their CEO staying on in the role. Six Flags would retain 49%, and their CEO would be elected to chairman of the board. This merger would retain the Six Flags name, and while it did seem to come out of nowhere, it's clear Cedar Fair saw that Six Flags was struggling. By combining forces, they would now have a good grasp on most markets across North America, bringing their total number of parks to 27 with an additional 15 water parks. By combining corporate oversight too, they claim that they could save around $120 million in 2 years. It'll also free up over $800 million in cash flow, which they could then presumably reinvest into Six Flags parks and bring them up to a higher standard that Cedar Fair parks had been enjoying for years. Perhaps then they can make the existing Six Flags parks both profit centers for the company and parks that are once again attractive to fans. This is not important, but why did they have to use AI for the photos on the covers for their merger investor book? Were they seriously short of amusement park file photos? This looks terrible. Obviously, the road to get to this point for Six Flags has been, I want to say a disaster, but that sounds a bit harsh. Let's call it an unmitigated mess filled with terrible decisions that ultimately led to a maybe positive ending. But it's been a long and tumultuous road to get here, with billions of dollars lost, bridges with their customers being burned, and several parks being lost, either on the drawing board or just lost to time. Even from the very start, Six Flags was never meant to be a long-term company. It was
Are you the dude I was just with?
Center, so a businessman could just replace it with an industrial park. But even when it proved to be more than just a fad, the company would never stay with one owner for long. Executives and major shareholders would continuously swap in and out, a never-ending series of buyouts and new management. While Six Flags did do a lot right and did innovate and build genuinely great regional parks, they also made a ton of seem to lose more and more money. From the excessive and costly expansion plans, to the loans taken out to acquire the company, to the lack of investment later, Six Flags has just been an exhausting company to keep up with. And I'm sure there's so much more that I'm missing here. But all of this led to the largest theme park operator in the world, and one of the most recognizable names in entertainment, ultimately declare bankruptcy. But now there is hope for the future, as capable executives are now at the helm, and maybe that chapter, the tumultuous days for the company, are now over, and maybe the future of Six Flags might actually have a happy ending. So as we know, 2021 wasn't a great year for Six Flags. On top of all of their financial pressure, a court ruling made them pay $36 million for the use of a fingerprint scanner at Great America. That just illustrates how often your own data is being sourced and collected in places you'd never think. That's why I'm really happy about this video's sponsor, Incogni. There's really no way of getting around your data constantly being collected every time you use the internet. And it's often collected by various websites and sold through data brokers. It's a troubling process, and it's likely why I receive spam emails and robo-phone calls. It's actually almost definitely why. It's probably why you have similar.
Oh, we got someone over here.
But handling and deleting that data all by yourself is a fruitless and very difficult venture. So thankfully, there's Incogni. They simplify the process and essentially do it all for you. All you need to do is sign up, grant them legal access to remove your information, and watch the process. They take care of all removal requests, objections, and give you the peace of mind that your information isn't out there being sold to financially benefit others, and it will also help reduce the frequency you get those scam messages. Really, it's a great service that makes security simple, and for the price, you really can't go wrong. Especially when you use the code BRIGHTSUN at the link below, which will get you an exclusive 60% off an annual plan. We're also now at the end of a long road, and there has been so much that I've gotten to do, all because you watch my videos. So it truly, genuinely means the world. So thank you so much for a great year here on YouTube, and thanks for voting for this topic. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on another video or another poll. But most importantly, my name's Jade, and thank you very much.
I gotta admit, I may have tricked you. Whew, glad I got that off my chest.
tell you there's people out there, but you don't give a fuck about nothing there. God. Don't even lie. The little bitch on
I
that.
do remember this. Okay.
And then here's the thing, you just replay it with someone else playing it. Exactly.
At the end of the time? Oh, fuck.
Ray, what are you doing, Ray? What are you doing, Ray?
Oh, let me explain what I'm doing! You can't just cut the clip like that! My foot was asleep! Dude, they didn't even... Why? Okay, why are they out to get me like this? Why? My foot was asleep. Not that without context, dude.
Introducing your champion.
It looks so bad. Okay, I suck eggs too every day. Okay. Okay, how come? Okay, first of all, why me? Second of all, why not everyone else? Huh? Why me? Where is everyone else's clips? This one is bad? Whatever, bro. I'm sure I've had worse clips than whatever this is. Okay, I fuck eggs too every day. The only thing I've been sucking.
Oops, I killed you on purpose.
You would stick your dick in a jar of peanut butter. I know you would stick it in my body. Actually, I want this. Okay, Marta's a girl, by the way. Okay, just. Okay, tell me, there's no more clips, right, in the last 3 videos? No? Okay, good. Editor? What? Chat, you lied to me, you said there's no more clips left. Why are all these clips old clips? Single one is an old clip of me. Why? It's never gonna end. Why?
Today we have 1 trillion transistors. NVIDIA's supercores are way better than we thought. NVIDIA just launched their new flagship gaming GPU, and AMD's releasing a slew of new
I
cards.
thought that was my buddy. He didn't even come with me.
Everyone to Gamer Melt. First up for today, TSMC, the company that
Who
manufactures
the fuck is Deborah Johnson? I don't think so. Do that. We ain't like that.
DESA also has a project that is using AI to translate animal communication called Earth Species Project.
I was just reading something about whales yesterday.
Mhm.
Is that regarding that?
Yeah, we work across a number of different species: dolphins, whales, orangutans, crows. And I think the reason why Tristan is bringing it up is because we're like this conversation. We're just going to sort of dive into like which way is AI taking us as a species, as a civilization. And it can be easy to hear just critiques as coming from critics, but we both, as builders, I've been working on AI since, really think about it, since 2013, but like building since 2017.
So this thing that I was reading about with whales, that there's some new scientific breakthrough where they're understanding patterns in the whale's language. And what they were saying was the next step would be to have AI work on this and try to break it down into pronouns, nouns, verbs, or whatever they're using, and decipher some sort of language out of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And what most people don't realize is the amount that we actually already know. So dolphins, for instance, have names that they call each other by.
Wow.
Parrots, turns out, also have names that they're like the mother will like whisper in each different child's ear and like keeps them their name, go back and forth until the child gets it.
Oh.
One of my favorite examples is actually off the coast of Norway. There's a group of false killer whales that speak one way, and a group of dolphins that speak another way. And they come together in a superpod, and when they do, they speak a third different way.
Whoa.
Interlingual. and look like that.
What is a false killer whale?
That's that name. It's a species related to killer whales. Still to like whales don't use the term.
So it's like a human dolphin.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
wow.
These things.
Okay, I've seen those
Like a
before.
fool's gold type thing. Like
Mhm.
it looks like gold, but it's
God, they're cool looking. Wow, how cool is that? That's amazing. And so they hunt together and use a third language.
Yeah, they speak a third different way.
Is it limited?
Oh, well, here's the thing. Like,
We don't know.
we don't know yet.
Did you ever read any of Lily's work, John Lilly?
Mm-hmm.
He was the wildest one.
Yeah.
Right, that guy was convinced that he could take acid and use a sensory deprivation tank to communicate with dolphins.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was out there.
Yeah, he had some really good early work in it. So like went down the acid route.
Well, yeah, he went down the ketamine route too. Well, his thing was the sensory deprivation tank. That was his invention, and he did it specifically.
Oh,
for
he
children.
invented the
Yes.
sensory deprivation tank.
We had a bunch of different models. The one that we use now, the one that we have out here, is just 1,000 pounds of Epsom salts into 94-degree water and float in it, and it's, you close the door, total silence, total darkness. His original one was like a scuba helmet, and you were just kind of suspended by straps, and you were just in water, and he had it so he could defecate and urinate, and he had like a diaper system or some sort of pipe connected to him. So he'd stay in there for days. And he was out of his mind.
Well, it's sort of set back by the study of animals.
Well, the problem was.
What is going on with that crazy music?
So, so what happened was there was a female researcher, and she lived in a house, and the house was
Just trying to make it all the way to back up.
of water, and so she lived with this dolphin. But the only way to get the dolphin to try to communicate with her is the dolphin was always aroused.
Yeah.
So she had to manually take care of the dolphin, and then the dolphin would participate. But until that, the dolphin was only interested in sex.
Yeah.
And so they found out about that, and the Puritans and the scientific community decided no, cannot do that. I don't know. She probably shouldn't have told anybody. I mean, I guess this is the 60s, right? Was it?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So sexual revolution, people are like a little bit more open to this idea of jerking off the dolphin.
This is
To that, I'm gonna try to make it all the way out to that mark to back up, like I said in the very beginning. Where are you going? Seems like you're coming with me. Come along for the ride.
They taught dolphins to gesture, and the first gesture was do something you've never done. Innovate. And
Good luck with the walk.
crazy is that the dolphins can understand a very abstract topic and remember everything they've done before. And then they'll understand the concept of negation, not one of those things. And then they will invent some new thing they've never done before. So that's sort of cool enough, but then they'll say to two dolphins, they'll teach them the gestures, do something together. And they'll say to two dolphins, do something you've never done before, together. And they go down and exchange sonic information. And they come up
With you or
and they do the same
without you,
new trick
I
that
am
they
gonna
have
win
never
this
done
game.
before at the same time.
They're coordinating.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. I like that, Rich.
So their language is so complex that it actually can encompass describing movements to each other.
It's what it appears. Like, it doesn't have true representational language, but it's certainly puts the Occam's razor like on the other foot. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like there's really something there, and that's what Project Work on Earth Species is about. Because there's one way of diagnosing like all of the biggest problems that humanity faces, whether it's climate, or opioid epidemic, or loneliness. It's because there's we're doing narrow optimization at the expense of the whole.
Grappling.
Attention. The champion.
Bro, I can't get no shield, bro.
I love loot.
Champion out.
Oh, fight right here.
Watch out for this. squad down. Now we can loot them.
Nobody different, nobody sir.
Famous.
Bean, thank you so much.
Song stuck in my head.
Bean, thank you so much.
Each day, a day to grind into.
Oh my god.
November 2021. I applied for partner again.
Man, thanks for summon once.
Man.
They're not real.
Use this line
They were
over
water
there.
balloons.
Lifeline over there. Dude.
Today we
What are you saying, you goofy motherfucker?
NVIDIA supercards are way better than we thought. NVIDIA just launched their new flagship gaming GPU, and AMD's releasing a slew of new cards.
Give me the loot, give me the loot. Give me the microphone first so I can pause like a bubble. Compton and Long Beach together, now you know you in trouble.
Every high-end processor on the market right now recently shared this slide at the IEBM.
Cause ain't nothing but a G thing,
we
baby.
can actually see that it makes an almost unbelievable claim. According to the slide, TSMC expects to put 1 trillion transistors on a single package by 2030.
That's not what people with big penises say though, buddy. Figure it out. Have some actual... Oh my god, have some self-awareness.
It's only possible by using 3D packaging. So we're talking things like chiplet technology. According to this, we would only be at 200 billion transistors by 2030 with just a monolithic die. To which that's still a huge jump from where we are now. But we already have 200 billion transistors on NVIDIA's Grace Hopper Superchip, though that's more of a full platform. If we look at the MI300X though, we're at over 150 billion transistors. So it shows the power of combining chiplets on a single package. Still, a trillion transistors is a long way to go in just a few short years.
What have you done
Maybe
so
TSMC
far
can
there?
pull it off, but it's tough to say. Delays happen all the time, and fabs do like to overestimate for investors. Still, anywhere near this is an unbelievable achievement.
Looks like you're about to die, aren't
Next up
you?
for today, NVIDIA's next-gen supercards
He's in
are
need of
way
help.
better than we thought. But before I get to that, learn how cool PC hardware like this actually works with this video sponsor. Brilliant, the ultimate online platform to learn PC hardware, or really any STEM field, because they teach you in the coolest way possible, by actually making you get in there and do it yourself with these fun puzzles that teach you the concepts and then build on them.
You need me to
Makes
come to
learning
you
really
that
complex
bad?
subjects easier than ever, like learning how AI chatbots work with their new course on large language models. Want to learn how memory works? They've got you covered there as well. Ready to code? There's even courses on that. Whether you're a beginner or a professional, Brilliant has something for everyone. And if you've been debating on joining, now's the perfect time, because Brilliant is offering my viewers a 30-day free trial when you visit brilliant.org/gamermeld. Plus, when you sign up at brilliant.org/gamermeld, you'll get 20% off the premium membership for life. This is one incredible deal. Once again, that's brilliant.org/gamermeld. Now back to the story, we have multiple new leaks that pretty much confirm the specs of NVIDIA's next-gen super GPUs. First, we have a new PDC following 5GB, then there's new MSI SKUs being listed at retailers along with pallet cards. And they all seem to confirm that NVIDIA's super GPUs are in fact coming soon. But they also help to confirm some specs. For starters, every leak shows that the
He's not one shot. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous.
This, of course, isn't a surprise.
I just fucking... Dude, you're ridiculous. One shot? I shouldn't have even started that. I came running to rescue you.
I wasn't too sure about that because we seem to hear the same thing with the regular 4070 Super, but it looks to be the case. And this means that both the 4070 Super and 4070 Ti Super are set to be a serious upgrade to their non-Super counterparts. Not only that, but the 4070 non-Ti Super mostly looks to come with 12GB of VRAM until we look at the pallet GPUs. As you can see, this retailer lists both 12 and 16GB models, so there's a chance that some models actually come with more VRAM, meaning the 4070 Super could be a massive upgrade because it would get a ton more force, as well as more VRAM. Ultimately, NVIDIA's upcoming super GPUs are looking better and better, but as always, it's really gonna boil down to price. Fingers crossed. And next up, Nvidia officially launched it. The long-rumored new flagship, their RTX 4090D, has been released to a flaccid audience. That's right, we knew the card was coming thanks to numerous rumors leading up to the
To a
release.
flaccid
But because it
audience.
was specifically made in response to US restrictions on China that have to do with performance, I more or less knew it had to be worse. And it is. The GPU all but replaces the 4090 in China, yet comes with 14,592 cores instead of 16,384, and it gets 456 tensor cores instead of 512. But it does come with a slightly higher base clock of 2280 MHz instead of 2235, and has lower TDP, yet comes with the same boost clock. When it comes to performance, we're looking at around a 10% decrease. Like the original rumor suggested, the price will ultimately remain the same, so this really is just a sad release all around. Oh, and another thing that changes is that the 4090E doesn't look to be overclockable, as none of the third-party cards seem to have overclocks in any way. As for release, the pre-orders recently opened, with the release date rumored for late January. Let's just say I'm not exactly excited for this one. And lastly for today, AMD looks to be working on a slew of new GPUs. The first part of the story comes from a new EEC filing. They're a subsidiary of Arctech recently submitted new Radeon GPUs. Among those, we have the RX 7700 non-XP, RX 7800 non-XP, and the RX 7600 XP. And AMD could be gearing up to release quite a few new cards. Of course, EEC filings can sometimes be preliminary. Maybe the company is thinking about releasing a card, but they never do, or the board partner anticipates a release. But here's the thing. In a new report from BenchLife, they just confirmed at least one of those GPUs. And while they claim that the other two aren't really coming, it could just be further in the future. Because according to BenchLife sources, AMD is actually planning to release their 7600 XT during the week of January 22nd. And according to video cards, a specific date mentioned was January 24th. Meaning if this is true,
Well, we got a
AMD
team
set
on
to
us.
release a new GPU early next year. Moving back to the other cards, this could be a response to NVIDIA's Super GPUs. Of course, the lower end SKUs don't exactly challenge NVIDIA's Super cards, but it could be a way for AMD to at least offer better price to performance. And that, as always, proves the power of competition. So while that does it for today, are you pumped for AMD's new gaming GPUs, or are you more excited for NVIDIA's Super cards? Let me know down in the comments below, and make sure you try out Brilliant for free at brilliant.org/gamermelt. And as always, have a great day.
Okay, let's talk Smartphone Awards. Let's talk that. Yeah.
Spoiler, we're going to talk about the winners. If somehow you are listening to the podcast before the video, thanks. That's pretty awesome. But we're going to talk about
We're going
so
to
don't
ruin the
spoil.
video. Yeah. That's fine. Not a single hot take in here.
None.
Not at all. Every single one, perfect pick.
Globally accepted.
Are we allowed to
Universal.
Are we allowed to kind of like say if we had different picks?
I was good.
Yes.
Yes, you are allowed to have your own opinion on
Okay.
the show. It's like the Google laws you said you couldn't, but now you are allowed to.
I'm free. Alright, let's get on the list. Okay. Let's get on the list. See if you guys agree. If
Wait, is the Wikipedia page?
Let me check.
Whoever does this is incredible. How quickly they have this.
It is a new category. Yeah, it's updated.
2023. Oh, and the new category too. That's so cool.
Alright, so this is spoiler. This is the first year we have a new category, so we have an extra.
Eshadden23 says, Lamek.
And let us know your thoughts.
Eshadden23 says, what are you doing?
I was trying to keep it. Alright,
Eshadden23 says, besides nothing.
This was the one. This wasn't necessarily a super easy one or hard one, but it's S23 Ultra for me. This is just a boring phone that does everything well at being big. Phones are like roughly all the same size as big
says,
phones now. Like
AFK jerk.
inches is like the size of a big phone. And
Are
it's
you
got
talking
that
about me?
incredible screen. It has all of the cameras. It has 2 telephoto cameras. It has a 5,000 mAh battery. It has
Eshadden23
multitasking
says,
features. It
no.
has a stylus built in.
The stylus. That's what I was just looking up.
It's
Like,
got
stylus is
everything. Yeah. So I gave a runner-up for the OnePlus Open and honorable mentions to the Find X6 Pro and the ROG Phone 7, but I do stand by S23 Ultra best big phone.
Eshadden23 says,
This one was a little bit difficult because
Mexijabroni.
it's like, how do you define big when you have folding phones that exist?
I agree. I think this was an argument I used to make with a small phone because I thought the Flip, in terms of like pocket size, was small and
Okay, let's
had
jump
the
right
big
to
punch. Well, I don't want to cut David off. I was cutting David off.
Okay.
Where are you at?
Something I really like about that Galaxy S23 Ultra that makes it feel like a truly like big phone is the bezels are insanely small on that phone. If you look at that screen and it's just like you can barely see any bezel, it's like all screen.
Bro, they're on our ass now.
From the screen to body ratio on that thing is crazy, and it's not even like curved over the sides or anything. It doesn't make it seem even more extreme actually. So
Would you say
thanks.
Move if you can.
Screen to body ratio?
They've
been doing it for a long time. They always seem to have the high numbers.
Screen to body ratio companies from in like China, but it feels the best. I would say. Yeah,
And it's also like it's a 1440p like LTPO, high brightness, high accuracy. Like great.
It feels boring to give it the Samsung because one, the product's now come out in January, so it's been so much time since it came out.
It's also impressive though that they can pull off a when they're arguably 10 months behind.
1-year-old phones.
Yeah, they're actually a
That's
processor
crazy.
behind now.
Yeah.
They're already a processor behind.
Yeah, I thought about getting us the OnePlus Open.
I did some college days in Maine, but I've never been up this way before. And, holy shit. It's different. Massive. Like, which is fun to see. I learned how to pronounce it. People got very, very upset. Then at first, I said, bang. No, not how to say it. Bang or. And it's Herman, right? I was like, okay, I need to pronounce this correctly. Because if I pronounce these wrong, it's like, well, you start in her man, and then you get the bang. That sounds wrong.
Why do you think Bangor is pronounced banger throughout the rest of the country?
That's a difficult question. Let me ask my doctor. It's not doctor and actor and manor and fucking respirator. That one's idiot. Anyway, the point is, that's how the word's spelled. That's why people pronounce it the way it's fucking spelled. And in Maine, you guys are like, no. It is not pronounced that way. And also, we do not say side door or back door. We say dooryard, which makes no fuck. What the fuck? Dooryard? Sorry, yeah, dooryard. Which is should we bang off? I don't understand, like, between dooryard and the pronunciation of some of your places and the fact that you willingly drink Moxie, like, you do understand Maine is not isolated, right? Like, it's the corner, but so is California. California's in the corner also, and they do stuff that the rest of the world understands, and you guys are like, no, we're a different breed here. We need to be a different breed to survive the 11 and a half months of winter.
I mean, I'd rather have a Moxie soda than a hurricane earthquake, so I think you guys are doing pretty okay up here.
It's actually what a Moxie tastes like, so.
Thanks for watching and sharing this video. And thank you for following me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and everything else. If you want to watch videos like this before anyone else, check out patreon.com/SteveHofstetter and come to a live show. I am touring just about every day. You can get tickets and see where all my shows are at stevehofstetter.com. Thanks for watching.
NVIDIA launched the D. Buy up with watch. Same D, giving you the GPU you want to buy, you normal person with reasonable income. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. This is Friday, December 29th, 2023. We're going to get into the last episode of the year talking about how the RTX 4090D officially launched in China yesterday. Now we're just waiting on this to become a TI Super variant, and then we have a great name on our hands. RTX 4090D TI Super.
Wasn't there another GPU that it had a really confusing name? Was it this one that I was talking about? 4090D.
D.
It's probably this one.
It's probably this.
This is a little hard to say, but it's officially out. However, there were rumors that came out last second indicating that maybe NVIDIA wasn't going to cut it down after all. Just the tensor cores were going to change, which tensor cores are for the AI processing, so that could be a reasonable way of doing it. Turns out that was a lie. They cut down the tensor cores and the CUDA cores, so it's slower at gaming and AI, because the whole U.S. administration embargo of exporting this has to do with whether or not it scores too high at a certain benchmark, and so it had to cut it down anyway. So I didn't see a way that that's a latter rumor was going to be true.
So the rumor was originally that it would technically have like a little bit of a boost.
Yes,
for gaming.
correct.
And now it's
No, not boost. Cut down. It was always going to be cut down.
I thought it was going to make up for something.
No, fully cut down. No reason to buy this if you have
Or
49.
was it the cut? It was a price cut that it was rumored.
No.
No, it's just all bad.
It's all bad.
Okay.
Same amount of VRAM it does have, same everything else, but it is also selling at the same price. This is literally because the US government made NVIDIA do it, so they released a cut down version, but they kept the price the same. So basically them saying nuh-uh to the US, and then here you get less for your money to China. Oh, you can't overclock it. Yeah, there's... That is also a problem.
Lower default TGP.
25 watts. Yeah, that's because it has fewer CUDA cores. That is
Economical.
You're right. It's more power efficient. That's exactly what is happening here. But in case you want to run a 4090D, probably not. You want to run a full 4090, you want to run a new GPU, you should check out today's video sponsor, Silverstone, with their KL07E case. Because Silverstone, after producing the most soundproof PC case ever, as tested by Cybernetics, with the SETA Q1, it had a 9.8 decibel reduction in noise level. Silverstone is back at it with another case for those of you looking to silence your PC at a more affordable price. The KL07E utilizes the same asphalt line design from the SETA Q1 to enhance stability and dampening noise and vibration generated by your components. And because a good silence design also requires good airflow, Silverstone has lined the KL07E with fan mounts, all in the right places to ensure you get the best balance of noise and performance. Kyle, you want to go grab the sound panels, that the side panels that are also sound dampening panels for that case. Feel how robust those feel.
Oh yeah. I saw these earlier and I didn't know what this was.
Yeah, asphalt line. This is dense.
This is crazy.
Like, here, let me just even knock on this.
Sounds like wood.
Almost.
And it's metal.
I have another Silverstone case panel literally right behind me. Big difference. So you can check out Silverstone's KL07E at the link in the video description. Get yourself a sound dampened case so that you don't have to listen to all the whining of the components. Additionally, no side view mirror. No window, rather. Not mirror. It doesn't have a side window. It's all that dense material. Big thanks again to Silverstone for sponsoring today's video. But we got more details coming out about the fact that the Super Series is for really launching. There were also articles that I chose to exclude about NVIDIA reconfirmed that they're going to be at CES. And it's like, yeah, we know. We know, and also now we have EEC filings coming out from Gigabyte about the 40 series supercars. The 4070 Tisiper, the 4070 Supper, and the 4080 Super all are now like confirmed by Gigabyte filing to say that, hey, yeah, they're actually going to sell it. And additionally, we're finding out that the 4080 Super is going to be on the same die as the regular 4080, which is pretty to be expected. So there's a lot of, hey, we kind of already knew.
So they were like, hey, here's a bunch of information you already knew.
Yeah, but just to reiterate for the audience,
it's real, guys.
It's for real.
Whoa, it's so exciting. It's real.
Well, okay, so let's switch topics. Talk about people might be like that. Actually, Apple employees might be a little myth at this current point. Because now Apple is officially selling their Ultra watches again, the Ultra 2 and the Series 9. Those are all back for sale. I read reports that was like last week, Apple employees had to stay late to pack up all the watches to ship them back to the headquarters because that's how they were going to do Apple Care Plus. They were going to use the ones they already had that they couldn't sell as the replacement unit. So that's what they were doing. They weren't importing anything. But now they're all going back out. So Apple is reshipping the Apple Watches because the ban got paused because Apple appealed it. And so by Saturday, tomorrow, you should be able to go buy your Ultra 2 or Series 9 watch from Apple in case you want to do that. And the Apple Watch got banned for like, what, 3 days? 4 days? 2? It was 2 days. But this is going to potentially change again because the deadline for this pause is January 10th. And if the appeal hasn't gone through or the Customs and Border Protection doesn't side with Apple that the new Apple Watches don't violate this patent, well then they have to send them all back again. They gotta go through the whole process one more time. Just next time you see a genius, have a little bit more patience with them. Be kind. About to. About at least. He's gonna give a deal.
Fireball, Yo, happy Friday everyone, welcome back to Gifty Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals on the internet. It is round 2 of Decrease today. And starting off with the deals, we have the EVGA XL1 Pro external cap card for only $89.99 for Big 2 promo code, making it $130 off. Then we also have this Lenovo G2720, which is a 27-inch 1080p 144Hz gaming monitor for only $129.99, making it $150 off what I think is a great looking monitor. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brett and Kyla for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Amazon's got a deal. They want to make things a little bit better for the environment by also making things better for themselves. They're announcing that they're going to have hydrogen-powered vehicles at some of their warehouses, specifically starting with their Aurora, Colorado fulfillment center. They're going to start having 225 forklifts that are all hydrogen powered. They're partnering with a company called Plug to have the capacity to fuel up to 400 hydrogen fuel cell powered forklifts.
Like what those Toyotas are?
Yes. So the reason I am talking about this is not because it's actually interesting for the end consumer, but rather this has ramifications. If Amazon, who is one of the largest logistic companies in the entire United States, has the ability to start rolling out hydrogen, that could potentially make it so that the supply for delivery, Aurora, Colorado is already getting a delivery of hydrogen fuel cells. Why couldn't then another company piggyback on top of that and then start making it available for vehicles? Because right now, I believe there's only one hydrogen-powered vehicle sold in the United States. It's the Toyota Mirai, and it's only available in California, and I think it's like 9 or 10 total hydrogen fuel cell stations in California.
Basically the most useless car in the country.
Yes. Yeah. It's a pretty interesting situation. Right now, very much like electric vehicles, although EVs have had a lot more time to develop their infrastructure thanks to Tesla, the hydrogen-powered vehicles are unsustainable for anybody who's looking to travel outside of their little bubble that they have. If you have the Toyota Mirai, it is probably one of your vehicles, not your only car. Likely. I don't know who buys these things, but this could potentially make it so if Amazon decides to move forward in this and have multiple different sites that all have hydrogen-powered forklifts, we could potentially see hydrogen-powered Amazon delivery vehicles.
I would love to get certified on a hydrogen-powered forklift.
You look like you could ace that test.
I don't mean to brag or nothing.
We got a team with us.
In another life, I was probably forklift certified.
Well, talking about some other sustainable vehicle news, their first ever sodium-ion battery vehicle is being sold over in China.
I read soda.
It is soda-powered, right? So this is different because instead of being lithium-ion, it is sodium-ion because sodium is way more abundant, costs, and allegedly superior cold weather performance, despite the fact that it has worse range. So this thing is just kind of a entry-level EV almost, and it's not going to have the full robustness that we've come to see out of lithium-ion batteries like we see in other ones, but it has a range of 137 miles, which is not terrible, based on a 25 kilowatt-hour battery, which is also not bad. So the price hasn't been revealed as far as I've seen, but the first announcement of sodium-ion-based batteries for this type of implementation was a little over 11 years ago. So when you start reading about new batteries that essentially use EVs, you gotta wait a long time before that tech actually comes out, and even then, it's in an obscure car that is not going to be sold everywhere in the entire world. It's a good start. It's making good start.
It's interesting to see it happening at all.
Yes.
Because there was, for a while there, anytime you would bring up electric cars to people, let's say like the people who really didn't want to hear it, their immediate rebuttal would always be like, we're going to run out of lithium in 10 years. Like, that's what they always want to say.
Yes. Or, I've also heard the rebuttal of, well, what about hydrogen? Hydrogen's way more renewable. I wonder what just was that.
We just touched on that.
It's all working together for a future where we don't have to
Honestly,
pump
we have no
the
way to win
gas
this.
of old
Just kill
dinosaurs anymore. You can still want to recreationally, though.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also would like to continue to huff the steam.
I'll be crafting you.
Give it away. Oh, quick. You can talk about the gift.
Hey, you're welcome.
But what we're going to touch on last,
Suicide
is the last
Queen.
topic in the last episode of Hot News in 2023.
No!
Prepare your wallets for an affordable AMD GPU that isn't as bad as the 7600. Details are coming out indicating that the 7600 XT has a release date. First reports were indicating that it was going to come out the week of January 22nd, and then further confirmations came out that it's going to launch on
Anti-Voz
January
Hyon says,
24th, which
U.U.
happens to be a Wednesday.
My dudes.
You get new GPU 7600 XT. This is right around the launch of like the 4070 Super. The 7600 XT is not likely to compete with that, but it's supposed to be a step up from the 7600, a cut down from the 7700 XT. It's allegedly only going to be third party only, so there will not be an AMD reference model, but hopefully with its 12 gigabytes of VRAM, falls in the region of around $349, being $100 less than the 7700 XT, about $80 more than the 7600, but hits that sweet middle spot of a $300 to $350 graphics card that actually makes sense for WODs and actually has modern features that, like, I'm excited for this. I'm legitimately wanting a 7600 XT. The 4060 has problems at $329 that are just, or $299. I really hope the 7600 XT resolves. I want to see a direct competitor from AMD that slaps the snot out of 4060.
I don't know, 12 or 10 gigabytes VRAM. I want like 80.
That's good.
I want 7,600 gigabytes of VRAM. Why is nobody giving me that?
You gotta download.
You kill yourself.
I can't download VRAM.
Oh, it already
That's
happened
just
once.
What you have to. You have to.
Right back at you, nigga.
What? You just called me the N-word? How out of town stupid are you?
I'm gonna plug the fact that today over on Twitch right now we're actually doing a live stream, which is our last of the year, celebrating everything that happened in 2023, and we got a bunch of giveaways going on.
We got giveaways,
You have to be present in the stream on December 29th in order to win some of these.
Gotta be present to get a present.
Like, baby. The Steam Deck OLED 512 gig version. We've got the ROG Ally C1 version. We've got a $1,000 4060 Ti PC and a Samsung 49-inch super ultra-wide OLED monitor, all of which are going to be live draws throughout the day. If you catch us past 5 p.m. Eastern, you likely missed everything. But we have our big grand prize at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is going to be the i9 14900K 4090 PC that you can find out in that video right up there, where we covered it in a sponsored video by Intel. But I don't need a 14900K.
Oh, there's someone else taking
taking
a zip line on you.
See,
Better get above them, find where they're going.
All the funny stuff we did this year.
Well, let's compile
That
all
team
the
that killed you
comments
guys.
they complain about them. Let's respond to them. We got YG Lucky saying Reese is like a pop-up shop in an MMORPG. Just pops up anywhere. No information of where he's going to be next. And Reese replied, Reese says, where is the deal coin? That's the Deal Master way, I'll tell you. Which, speaking of, today was supposed to be the last day of wearing the shirt. I have to wear
Trying to
this
get in
all
that?
next week. All next week.
Starting to look.
You're gonna go into a different
I
team. We're
watched
getting
it.
pinched.
Actually, my wife watched it when we came back from the hospital.
okay.
And I was like, what?
Okay. I was gonna say, so it looks like it went through the dryer.
Yeah,
But I didn't think you had watched it, so it was distressing.
Oh. Oh, we got to take a sandwich. I think being permanent. Physical is not permanent, although we discussed this yesterday. Physical also disintegrates and dies before your very eyes. Nothing is permanent. Death is coming. I mean, we're only in case.
in purposes, yeah, intensive purposes.
Intense and
For
purpose.
all intensive purposes,
Yes.
physical is permanent. It's not going to
It's not.
disintegrate in your lifetime.
It's not though. I've had so many physical media things break on me. I have SD cards that just wear out because I'm plugging them in and plugging them out. I've had CDs that because I stored them even correctly, just by the act of moving them in and out, scratches are no longer readable. The amount of CDs I lost as a teenager because they got corrupted and then they would skip the track and like physical is not something. Wait, it all dies.
Hold on.
Be prepared.
What's a CD?
I don't know. Things die. It's okay. The cost I get, that doesn't bother me too much. The price of games hasn't gone up if you adjust for inflation. So again, these are all things that for me, I find okay. If I can't afford a game, do you know what I do? I don't buy it or play it. I watch videos on it. It's YouTube is free. Oh, we got Splatterboy saying the New York Times OpenAI lawsuit is extremely important. The concept of copyright infringement and copyright law in general is still being glossed over in discussions surrounding AI training and datasets. It needs to be made extremely clear to OpenAI and other ventures that they can't just help themselves to whatever data they want. Additionally, we should also be discussing further laws which can allow writers or other creatives to protect their intellectual property from being used in datasets against their will, which is all good in theory. I hear what you're saying. I think I personally am in support of your side, which is that I do believe that like training models shouldn't necessarily have free reign over data, to which like the response is always, well, you got to train on other people's data. What's the difference between you and this chatbot? And the difference is, I'm a boy. I don't. It comes down to a metaphysical and existential difference rather than a substantial difference. And like, free for private use is different than free for public spreading of your AI to the entire world. The other side of it is, while Splatterboy wants it to be extremely clear, I think what's going to end up happening is either New York Times settles out for a licensing deal, or it actually is more ambiguous, right? Like New York Times loses on a technicality, and while, you know, whoever was deciding the case sides with New York Times, they have to award the win to OpenAI for some jargon loophole that we don't see right now. But they're OpenAI and Microsoft lawyers do.
I think everybody involved, they gotta take a break, take a bye, take a weekend,
I like that.
play near Automata. Near Automata. Give it a go.
Give it a go.
Well, how do you feel about AI?
And then once you beat it, play it again.
Keep playing it. You need to play it at least four times. I think it's 4 times.
Yeah, you gotta play it 4 times.
Play it 4 times.
We're not kidding.
Whole way through. And I'll know if you don't.
He checks your saves.
I do.
Cheer Figgy, which I chose this comment because I've spent so much time like arguing with people in comment response on this. I wanted one positive comment. So I picked this one saying, you made a really good point about the lifespan of physical media in correlation to the expiration of digital licenses. Building off your point on compact discs, basically all CDs, besides specifically archival made ones, will experience irreversible data rot within 50 years in film users. For example, I'm not going to read that. Following in line with digital license expiration debate, would I realistically contact the French magazine and claim that I'm entitled to a new copy for continued access? Obviously not, since they're probably not even around nor have the rights to Daft Punk anymore. But the moment this situation applies to digital media, it's apparently a different story. Even assuming you make a copy to digital mediums, you're still betting on the lifespan of the digital medium, whether it's a hard drive, solid state drive, cloud, etc., which can still die suddenly and you're back to square one of nothing lasting forever. All in all, I heavily agree with you that it's up to the user to extract the value from the media, and in the end of the day, it will inevitably disappear unless someone cares enough to maintain copies of the media. Thank you, Hirofiti. Now, people are going to be railing in the comments against this.
I mean, it is a good point. CDs and like hard drives are finite. They do have expected lifespans. That's why we all need to start using that weird glass stuff that Google's making or something.
Google
or Microsoft.
I love Google Glass.
Yeah, the Google Glass. I don't know. I think it's Google or Microsoft is making like sheets of just like completely clear glass that you can store data on for like 10,000 years. Or, hear me out. Delete your data. You don't need it.
No, just back it up every 3 years.
Get rid of it.
No.
You don't need to keep it.
Keep 10 backups.
You
Then
don't
go
need
back
Jack 2.
every.
Jack 2 got to die. Sorry.
No.
The Mister saying, I really appreciate your South African context in talking about tech accessibility. Too often the Southern Hemisphere is considered less important in terms of sport and communication, even though EMEA is an important tech market. So I don't have a South African context. I have an American immigration context, which is a different one altogether. I have experienced it personally, which flavors how I see the world, even as we're looking at treatments and cures and anything for my son. We are also having the conversation of what do we do about accessibility for these treatments in other areas, because it's a whole situation. We lived the life of not being able to have access to things all of the time, or if we did, we had to pay a very significant penalty for it. And I like talking about it because that's my lived experience, and you're welcome. And then we got the last comment of the year, Digitalized Death Lab saying, you forgot to say you are our Brett host. You're slipping, falling, you can't get up. Make DMX proud in the next video, Brett host. All day, every day. Rock on, level up, kiss rules. Kiss rules, huh? I didn't forget. I'm choosing to forego it. Just like I'm foregoing hot news for the rest of the year. Bye! Wait! Come join us on Twitch. No, don't go! Don't go! Please don't leave! Please!
I need heavy ammo.
Turn off the camera. Turn off the camera. It's already doing it.
Please don't leave me. Come on, reach, grab my hand.
You dug your grave.
Yeah, grab my hand. We're leaving now.
Bam, there goes a boozle. Or something like that. I didn't, okay. Extended energy mag here. Level 3. My ultimate's ready.
The PS3 still have life.
Sony has a foot control.
Ooh, GTA.
We're going back to you first. Back to Cali.
Rings moving. New kill leader. As I
We're
thought.
going.
Maybe some loot over here. I'll check for us.
I guess I gotta finish it now.
Source code costs as much as a 4090. Let's get into hot news gaming, everybody. I'm your Brett host, and I'm Kyle. That's what we call ourselves. Today's Friday, December 29, 2023. We've got lots of Sony news today, starting with nearly 2 million players are still actively playing their PS3 consoles. A leaked slide from the Insomniac hack shows that the PS3 has around 1.9 million players out of the 87 million consoles sold still actively using their 17-year-old console. I wonder how many of them are still the government who had them in that giant supercomputer cluster. Pardon? The information isn't very recent since it's from last February, but that is way more than most would expect, even me. But it makes sense since the PS4 wasn't backwards compatible, and many PS3 games, unless ported to modern hardware, aren't playable without an emulator or streamed off PS Plus. A Reddit thread revealed that some players use the console to replay old games like Spider-Man, Web of Shadows, the best Spider-Man game ever, or Infamous. But many more are using the free multiplayer that used to be a selling point over the Xbox 360. Games like Red Dead and GTA 4 still have servers running, which is shocking, and any game with peer-to-peer connection should also work. The slide also revealed that over 70 million players are still on PS4, and that 32 million are on PS5, which is impressive considering the console didn't hit 40 million units until July. Will Sony finally make PS3 emulation on PS5 a thing?
Wonder if it's compatible with the PS3.
It's compatible with my foot, I'll tell you that.
It's not compatible with the PS3, but yeah, Sony has this weird new design for 2 gamepads that you control with your piggies.
Oh, like DDR.
4 or 5.
I don't know how many games they released.
The patent diagrams look like 2 giant trackballs you slap your dogs onto, while the second controller concept looks like a giant curved jets like that.
Oh, so I just need to
slap your dog on.
Are we good? That's what
That's what
Sony
they wanted.
wants?
That's what Sony wanted. While the second controller concept looks like a giant curved touchpad that your feet rest on. Sony seems to be aiming for a controller that lets you play VR games without having to walk around or use a regular gamepad. Don't eat that. Put that down.
It's a jawbreak.
Put that down. The use case would be for those with smaller areas to play VR titles without having to worry about tripping over the cat or accidentally punching it through the hole in the wall. You would do that.
My name's not Taco.
What's cool about this strange idea is that it wasn't just the only
to VR, but it'd also be functional in racing simulators and other types of games that use footballs. Using the balls causes them to spin, which would be stopped by magnets or some other mechanisms as brakes. And that would hate when my balls spin, which would also provide haptic feedback.
Don't like it when they vibrate either.
It also looks like several versions are being considered, like different ball sizes and how many balls you get to kick. Sony has a bunch of patents out there for PlayStation peripherals, but they also have some free games for you to download to kick off the new year. See what they did there?
I get it. I see what you did. Kicking off the new
You guys are in a fight already? What the fuck?
Download a Plague Tale Requiem Evil West and Nobody Saves the World
Coming to you.
PS Plus subscription. A Plague Tale Requiem is the second entry in the Plague Tale series that follows two siblings in their perils finding their way through 14th century France. This one got a lot of love from critics and fans alike, so if you're not afraid of rats, maybe check this one out. I've heard really good things about the graphics.
I'm petrified of rats.
I got it for free on Epic Games, I believe, or a paid for Game Pass, something like that. I still don't know.
I don't even see where you're shooting at.
It scared me. Because of the rats. Because of the rats.
Well, the other offerings aren't quite
There
AAA
were
or
people
rat
at the
heavy,
middle
but
tower,
some
don't know
people
where they
seem to
went.
enjoy the throwback beat 'em up Wild West, and even more for the 2D action RPG Nobody Saves the World. The former currently has a 73 on Metacritic, but users seem to like it, and with one user saying, I had fun punching demons into chunky salsa.
No favorite kind of salsa.
Chunky?
I like chunky.
Oh, I can't stand the chunks.
What do you go for? Restaurant style?
Oh, my wife got me like a sweet onion salsa one time. It's delicious. Nobody Saves the World scored even higher overall, with PC Gamer saying, it's a bit flatty and messy, but though Nobody Saves the World is far more often than a delight. That was my interjection, not the original writers. I'd consider checking these out if you like action and adventure games. PS Plus subscribers will also get to download an exclusive Warframe patch title that gives you a bunch of goodies to use. Tyler, you stream this game, or what do you think?
I love War.
I know you do. You play it like every time your Steam notification will pop up, it will say you're playing. You also love Call of Duty.
We love Call of Duty. And you know it, a new PlayStation studio may be forming as several developers, including former Call of Duty. Full circle.
I see what you did.
Former Call of Duty veteran are now listed as working for
Good
Sony
work.
Entertainment.
That's the PlayStation company.
That's the PlayStation, like the rice. LinkedIn profiles show that many new developers at SIE were once part of Aviation Games, including the founder Jason Blundell. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Sony partnered with the company in 2021 to build an original IP for PlayStation.
IPSI.
IPB.
Good story, balls.
Blundell left.
It all comes back together.
Blundell left Deviation Games in 2022, though the reasons were unknown until now. Deviation Games has also suffered from layoffs, like many in the industry, with a third of the devs being let go. The rest were left to work on an unannounced project. Ooh, secret. But now it appears another third of the company has left to join SIE, many of which also worked on COD with Blundell. Blundell. Speculation about Sony cutting funding for this game has emerged.
Yo, don't you need to get healed, buddy? Why did you run away from my drone?
Based on the information available, it wouldn't be surprising that Sony went
the other
for
side of
COD
that
bets
fence.
to build a new competitor in the FPS space, like Battlebit. But it's an interesting move to build a new studio when reports hint at layoffs.
You came
across
flying
all
past me.
PlayStation
I came
studios.
running out to
I
you.
guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, you don't have to wait and see.
You just leaped right past the fence, and I put it out right on the other side of the fence as you were coming to me, and you just went
Stop
right past me.
remastering and remaking its IPs, which currently is balls. Another set of leaked presentation slides from the Insomniac hack has revealed that Sony is making betting off these projects on release strategic.
I thought they were making games.
The slides show that Spider-Man PS4, The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, and several other titles all saw their remasters succeed when released near the end or beginning of a console cycle. More specifically, people are just as willing to buy a full-price remaster as when the game was first released. So if you want to blame anyone...
What the fuck kind of move was that?
...in recent years, maybe look in the mirror...
I thought that was one of you.
Or, you know, you can continue to be spiteful. Or we're conflating the people who buy it with the people who complain about it. And maybe they are separate groups, but you can't tell the difference because it's all just an amalgamation of internet complaints. Story balls.
Yeah. You know who is spiteful?
Tell me.
That is the...
We're in here. I don't think we should leave this because we can take the zip line across. Check our backside.
A modding group who bought the source code from the hackers had falling out over profiting on the code.
They wanted money!
The group pulled their funds to purchase the code, well, except this guy, Kieran Austin, aka It will be fixed.
I really don't want to. That feels like an HR violation.
TNT for sure.
Oh, because that's where the story involves.
Run up with that one. Can't do that code. Free is still one of the problems. He tried selling it for $6 grand and attempted to scam even another person that I still got games. But unfortunately for TNT, no one was willing to fork up the cash. I wonder he even tried selling it for as little as $200 but got nothing. So he did what any spiteful dude would do and leak the source code. We're still waiting to hear from Rockstar officially, but we'll keep tabs on the story as it develops. Also developed a reforged partnership between Blizzard and NetEase. Blizzard and NetEase initially partnered before to bring Blizzard games into China. But a dispute between the two entities resulted in the license Blizzard needed to operate in the country being revoked.
Why are you going to get into a fight without me
Those
there?
issues may have been resolved with the departure of Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick. Took too long for that guy to go. Kotick is reportedly the reason why the original new deal fell through. Many speculated as such after NetEase's CEO tweeted about a jerk tanking the deal. NetEase even demolished a WoW statue outside of its Fengshu headquarters to show how displeased they were with the result.
Are we sure it wasn't a mom statue flipped upside down?
I don't get it. Wow, got it. But with Kotick out, Blizzard is back in at NetEase. That doesn't mean Chinese players can anticipate logging back into their Battle.net accounts anytime soon, as the company will need to reestablish the systems they once had.
And our last story today,
Tell me, baby.
it's about Lies of P, which is, as we all know.
I'm not doing it. That one's too easy.
But it's about the Lies of P possibly becoming the next video game adaptation on the silver little screens. Developer NeoWiz has already announced plans for DLC and a sequel to the Pinocchio-inspired Souls-like, but the game's director revealed in an interview that several offers are on the table to take it beyond games. Beyond.
That's what Stadia said.
While they didn't clue us in on who's in talks for the franchise, right? I'm sure there's something with Lies of P's world that could work on a streaming service.
Well, you know who is in talks right now? The community. They had a lot of things to say about our first episode of Hot News Gaming yesterday, so let's get into the comment response.
They're quite spicy.
They spiced it up.
Like Ice Spice and the Yacht Rizzler.
Last night we let the Rizzler talk. First up, we got the Indulger saying, I just understand the narrative behind the Starfield reviews. I hope you mean I don't do that. Personally,
This is your champion.
Hi Greg, longtime viewer here and a fan of the Fixer Flop series. Never thought I'd be one of your subjects, as I am pretty decent with PC hardware tweaking. This afternoon, December 7th, my PC hard crashed while playing Modern Warfare 3 and doesn't want to boot ever since. Whenever I press the power button, all the lights and fans turn on for about half a second and shut off immediately. My PC used to hard crash randomly about twice a day, but it was not a deal breaker. I mainly play COD using a controller. I tried swapping RAMs and in different slots, clear the CMOS, replace the CPU, nada. And I don't think it's the power supply as it provides power. My PC was a pre-built that I upgraded over time. Hope you'll be able to find what's wrong with my rig. Thank you in advance. Until then, have a great night. This here is that viewer's broken gaming PC. Oh boy, does this one sound complicated. Random reboots and powering off abruptly, especially after only a few seconds of being powered on, that's stuff you never want anywhere near your gaming rig. And, well, it could be caused by a number of things. So in this video, we're going to dive into the issues, hopefully fix whatever is causing this random power-off situation, and have a viewer back up and in no time. Might not end that way, but we're gonna... And you're gonna come along for the ride, hopefully. Stay with me. If you're sick of seeing that same Activate Windows watermark over and over, head on over to VIP SCD Key, where they have Windows 10 and 11 Pro OEM keys at a fraction of the price of retail. Just use a secure payment method like PayPal, enter your product key into your PC settings window, and save the 5 to the 1. And be sure to use our offer code SKGS for that sweet discount. Hey there, and welcome to Fix or Flop. If you're new, just know that everything you see us do in these videos is free of charge to the owners in question. We don't charge for labor, we don't charge for replacement hardware, and it's because of your viewership that we're allowed to continue doing what we're doing in the Orlando, Florida area. I can monetize these videos on sites like YouTube, and so they're gracious enough to allow us to film with their builds, albeit broken at the time. I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm going to show you pretty much everything that I do to try to bring these rigs back to life. Hopefully you learn something along the way, or at the very least, you're somewhat entertained. Now you likely saw in the earlier screenshot the specifications of this rig, a Ryzen 7 3700X with the stock cooler, an RTX 3070. This is actually an upgrade from the original 3060 that was in here, according to The owner, this is the Skytech Gaming PC, by the way, has 32 gigs of DDR4, a 500 gig M.2, and a 550 watt Gambia's power supply. If you can't already tell, it is quite cramped in here. Particularly, the graphics card is pressed very closely to the power supply. I am actually a huge fan of MATX.
I'm being shot at.
Their use of space and their lack of empty space in most cases. However, the graphics card is a bit close here. There's not much.
I'm just running out, dude. I got fucked.
Cards, which of course I don't really want to do unless I have to, but I did want to point that out. I also don't think this is the reason why the system is randomly shutting down. Even if one or two of these fans is partially covered, shouldn't be a reason for the graphics card to severely overheat. There is some air getting to this card. Now I say we go ahead and just jump straight into powering this thing on. We need to replicate the issue described, which is random powering off, which is why I don't have a screen here. I don't think we're going to need one to see what we expect to see. Power strip is on. Are we getting LEDs at the front? Nothing yet. Let's go ahead and attempt.
I'm good, but where are you at now? Oh my god, don't go in there and fight them by yourself. What are you doing?
Everything sounds healthy. All the fans are spinning, including those in the graphics card, which is a good sign. I know I've said this in earlier pictures, but I do want to point out that there are some instances where builds like these make it into the office and work perfectly fine out of the gate. We end up not even making a video.
Don't go in there, buddy.
In fact, it's possible you might not even see what I'm recording right now, because the rig ends up running just fine. And it's some external factor preventing the system from functioning properly. So, faulty power strip or just dirty power from the wall, you never really know. So far, this seems fine. Several minutes later, and it's a good thing. The system isn't having problems right now, but it also means that we can't actually
AC3G0LD_97 says,
that this system
okay.
does have some sort of powering off issue.
So, I don't know whether I can even get you, or should I just get this guy first?
Prior to dropping his rig off, and you can see very clearly after only a few seconds, in most cases, heck, sometimes after only a split second, the system immediately shuts back off again. So my job for the last 15 minutes or so has been trying to get this
I'm not
thing
gonna
to do
go in
that.
there, I don't think.
That's what I want to do is pilot station in, so I've asked for the owner to log in passes for Windows, Intel, or full burn-in tests.
I think I'm just gonna leave and try and craft you later.
That way. I should note, burn-in tests are really only good for telling us whether the issue is thermal. If
I
we
get
still
this guy up while I
react to the
can.
rig, then I would probably err on the side of it being a power
I can
supply
craft
issue.
you over
Although
there.
most burn-in tests are actually pushing whatever component's being stressed to its power limit as well. We'll have to just kind of prod around until something pops up. So we are in for a mark now. We haven't started the stress test, but for some reason the power draw on the card is around 20 to 25%. It might have to do with the live wallpaper. That's another reason why I don't like using those. The GPU itself is around 47 degrees Celsius, which isn't alarmingly high, but if this was truly idle, I would say this is a bit concerning. So far, so good. Temps haven't immediately shot up to a dangerous level, which is a good thing. We are slowly climbing, but I expect to level out within the next few minutes, considering this is an air-cooled card. Right now, we're at about 65 degrees Celsius. A few moments later. I'm an impatient guy, so I'm not going to wait much longer. You can see temps have largely leveled off. I mean, 70 degrees Celsius, there's nothing wrong here, and they're certainly not going to jump to 90 degrees or higher within the next 5 or 10 minutes, which is not going to happen with this air-cooled stuff. So we are going to shift our attention to the CPU now, because I think the graphics card is fine. Despite it being as close as it is to the power supply over one fan, this is nowhere near as alarming as I thought it would be. On i64, things are a bit more concerning. I just enabled the GPU stress test, that's this lower blue line, but the two upper ones, both at 8788, it's a CPU and CPU diode. This is uncomfortable for, I believe this is Zen 2 architecture, right? We're at 95 degrees Celsius now at the CPU diode, so we are on the edge of T-junction. 95 degrees is the maximum temperature allowed for Zen 2. So I expect we'll see some sort of warning down here at the bottom telling us that the CPU is being throttled because it's running too hot. This could very well be why the system is shutting down randomly, especially after several hours of gaming. Oddly enough though, 10 minutes later, we are still running this test. We're still pegged at 9596C, and the rig has not run the throttle yet, and it obviously hasn't shut down either. It's like I'm trying to bait it into doing what we've seen it do in the videos that the owner sent, but it just doesn't want it. For whatever reason, it seems to be running healthily right now. Again, apart from the temperature, it's doing what it's supposed to do here. We even set up a worst case scenario. Left side panel installed, the front panel is still on, practically choking these front intake fans. and we still can't get the system to falter. But here's the thing, we know the system can falter because we've seen these clips from the owner with our own eyes. This PC clearly has issues staying powered on. The issue is I can't account for every possible variable involved. Maybe he's dirty power coming from his wall, in which case there's no way I can account for that. His home, or maybe he's connected to a surge protector that is going bad. Again, I don't have that either, and I really should start asking for that in the future because that very well could explain some of the things we're seeing here. What I can say is that the temperatures we saw were not healthy, and I still want to fix that. Now, your average PC repair shop might say, well, the system runs fine, yes it runs hot, but we're not being paid to fix hot. We're being paid to fix no power on, or powering on and then right back off again. And I understand that from a business perspective, you don't want to just randomly start swapping things out, especially if you don't plan to charge the owner. In this case, though, we're doing it more for educational purposes. And again, I do want the owner to have a healthy, enjoyable gaming experience. And right now, those temperatures at the CPU level are just a bit too hot for me. So here's the game plan. Firstly, I want to examine the CPU cooler. I want to make sure that there's enough mounting pressure atop the IHS and that it's mounted properly. And then I want to check the thermal paste underneath and make sure enough is applied and that it's spread appropriately. Then I want to swap that CPU cooler out with something a bit beefier. The only issue with this is that we might run into height constraints because this isn't a very wide case left and right. If we put a larger power cooler in here, it might not fit, at which point we'd also need to upgrade the case. I'm not inclined to do that, even though I think the case could use a bit of revamping, especially from an airflow perspective. I think simply upgrading the CPU cooler alone should solve all those issues. I don't think it's a power supply issue. We've seen definitely some issues while running both of these heavy components under load. And I don't think it's an issue with anything else because, well, again, it was stable. It was running Windows, no problem. And it was running multiple stress tests, no problem. The only apparent issue is temperature, and that's why I'm only going to tackle the CPU cooler in this case. So this is what we'll be upgrading him to, a Purox 2 FX from Beeplay. This is a larger tower cooler than what he's already got in the system. This has some RGB functionality as well, and it has a very high PVP, right here, at 150 watts. So it's a high performer, yes, for the price, but it's also a really good looking cooler. Beeplay, I think, makes some of the sexiest air coolers around. Screen snippet and kind of link below. Again, I want to thank Beeplay for being a continued product sponsor of the Fix or Flop playlist. I not only love their products, but I also love how organically they integrate and help out a lot of folks in the Orlando Florida area. So show them some love down below. Let's start first by removing the original cooler, and I just realized I haven't actually looked through this build yet. But there are some... Oh, that's embarrassing. Okay. I'll just show you guys. I've got the ISO turned way up, and the reason why I said this is embarrassing is because, well, this is something I should have caught. I'm not saying that the owner should be embarrassed in the slightest. I've done this before. But this 24 pin is not completely installed. In fact, I think I could just slide out this upper 4 pin. Yeah, look at that. It's not even fastened to the connector on the board. That's not good. That could very well be causing your power issue. Honestly, it doesn't even look like this is clipped in. It's not. It's not even clipped in all the way. So you should hear a resounding click, and this top part here should be down.
I don't think there's a chance in hell that I can get all the way around.
Now, no matter what I do to it, if I pull on it, reasonable. I'm not like yanking it out, but if I give it a reasonable amount of force in the opposite direction, it's not going anywhere. Whereas before it was. Loose connections will cause power issues. I guess I was just so focused on getting the system
basically just been running around getting you up the
I
whole
forgot
time.
to check basic wiring and things that I would normally do in a Fix Your Flop video. For that fringe, that said, it didn't power off even as is, and so I can't confirm obviously that this will fix the power issues, but it's definitely something that needs to be tackled. The CPU temperature issue, though, is another one, and we're still going to replace the cooler. Let's get this original cooler off again, these darn hooks. I'd say that's pretty good thermal paste coverage, maybe a little more than we really needed. And if we take a peek at the CPU cooler, you can see thermal paste is spread quite nicely here. It looks like we had adequate mounting pressure. In fact, there was much more thermal paste applied than there needed to be because a lot of it actually rolled into the pins here at the back, which could also, in theory, cause some issues. Again, I cannot confirm any of this, but we're just going to try to tackle as many small issues as possible. I've got a little nylon bristle brush.
Well, I
here.
wanted to get over to that to
Yeah.
try to craft you, but that ain't
This
happening.
piece
No
out,
fucking
trying
way
to
am
get
I
these
going to
pins as
that.
possible. There's also plenty of prep around the sides of the CPU as well. A lot of crusty thermal paste. We're gonna make this thing look as close to brand new as possible. Just
There's a bunch of people over here.
And here we are. This 3700X looks really good now. IHS totally clean. Also cleaned up a lot of the gunk between the pins underneath this chip. Let's get it installed. By the way, the socket looks fine. No issues in here. This, it's a bit weird doing the standing up, but for the sake of YouTube, we're gonna roll with it. Just notice this as well, an incorrectly installed NVMe. I really hope this was the owner of the system, maybe as an upgrade down the line, and not Skype. You might even notice in this drive's case, it is sort of warped closer to the front right here. It's leaning downward, and it's more straight here at the rear, so that's another reason why you don't want to install it this way. One of these should be in either your motherboard box or your drive box. You use this to tighten the drive on top of the standoff. So it'll be just like that. Mounting gear is in. We've got pre-applied thermal paste. Remember, we'll set the cooler like this right here, and then we've got 2 more screws to tighten it all down. By the way, cooler clearance with the case is just about perfect. Maybe a few millimeters to spare. Cooler fan now attached, and unfortunately we don't have an ARGB header to connect this fan to, so it won't be able to illuminate as is without an adapter. Not a big deal though. Our biggest concern, of course, was temperature. We'll get his RAM reinstalled, and we're gonna try to clean up cable management a bit, at least on this side. You know, he's got like hanging RGB strips and things. It kind of looks a bit tacky, so we're going to try to clean this up for him. He's missing a couple of screws back here. We'll fix that for him as well. And here we are, looking much better in my opinion. Cleaned up a lot of the cable management, hid especially those RGB LED strips that were running along the sides, looking a bit messy, and that new cooler. My oh my, looking super juicy. It is my hope that without changing anything in the BIOS, this cooler alone will bring CPU temperatures down quite a bit. We'll of course be fair with the testing. We'll put the left side panel back on and run IDA64 again. But of course, chicken before the egg, we need to make sure the thing actually turns on before we can test any of that. I think we've got it all rewired correctly. It is blinking obnoxiously green. I'm not sure why. I think that is just a motherboard setting. There's not much I can do on my side without logging in and tweaking a bunch of stuff, which I really don't want to do. I'll mention it to him though.
Get into the
I noticed he
BIOS,
had
buddy.
the LED strips wired backwards in the header. So when I move things around, I flip that connector around so that it gets proper 12-volt power now. And so obviously it works. It's just blinking a weird green color for some reason. Hey, there we go. And now let's log in and run IDA64. You'll probably notice temperatures don't shoot up nearly as high as they did previously, which is a good sign. Although, given we're about 15 minutes at this point into the test, and I think we've more or less fully saturated the air cooler in question, we are still in the upper 80s. That's still a several degrees Celsius drop, which is a notable improvement. However, this is still uncomfortably hot, I would say, especially for Ryzen. It's possible this chip is just poorly binned, and of course the case is not helping things either. One of the first things that comes to mind to remedy this is undervolting. AMD chips usually leave a bit on the table when it comes to voltage, so tinkering that V-core in the BIOS could, in theory, lower temperatures across the board. It doesn't work for every chip. Again, an especially poorly binned chip won't give up much in the way of voltage, but it is probably worth trying. The other thing we could do is disable PBO. Of course, that will hurt performance just a bit. If you're mostly gaming, it shouldn't be that noticeable. Just kind of weighing some options here. That said, at least for me, comparing and contrasting the two coolers, I am much happier with the Pure 2FX. It has been a phenomenal job. Given its size, it's not a super bulky CPU tower cooler by any means. You can see it's lower temperatures by about 5 to 6 degrees Celsius under full load, which is welcome. And if in the future the owner wants to upgrade his case to something much more airflow oriented, we should expect to see another healthy temperature drop. I'm sure a few of you are screaming, Greg, why not just replace the case as well? You've done half the work, give them an airflowy chassis, you've got tons of those, right? They practically grow on trees where you live, and then you'll solve the temperature problem completely. Lower CPU temperatures, lower graphics card temperatures, that's a done deal. There are two issues with that. Firstly, no, I don't have trees that grow PC cases, or any computer hardware for that matter. And two, we aren't even sure if temperatures are the reason why the system is shutting off in these clips. We can't account for anything attached to this system here, and that more or less ties my hands. If this was power related, we certainly would have seen an issue with the power supply, intermittent cutouts, or maybe blue screens, or the system outright shutting off. none of that happened, and I let the stress test run for, again, well north of 30 minutes. And look, I'll be honest, I love that you guys love Fix or Flop. I love that you keep coming back episode after episode, and you're just willing to watch. You don't have to donate, you don't have to join Patreon or any of that crap. You can just watch the videos and leave some comments every now and then. That's really the most I could ever ask for. But I'm never going to stop being honest with you in this playlist either. And I know that sometimes that honesty will bite me in the butt. I know that it's going to rub some folks the wrong way, but I always want to be upfront about my intentions with rigs like these, especially ones that maybe kind of sort of don't belong, because the issue described isn't what matches up here. It doesn't happen often, which is a good thing. But in these cases, I can really only justify giving so much hardware away. I think there are systems out there that have much bigger problems that I'd rather use that spare hardware for. You know, I think the owner has the best mentality here. I just got off the phone with him, and the first thing he said was that he was happy it wasn't something hardware related, or at least immediately noticeable from a hardware perspective. I mean, we couldn't, again, get the issue to show up here, but that likely means it's something else on his end, something pretty cheap more than likely, like a you know, a bad wall outlet, or maybe a bad surge protector, maybe a bad power cable running from the PC to that outlet or surge protector. So, who really knows, but the good thing is the system itself seems healthy apart from that immediate temperature issue that we wanted to address at least partially here. When I do meet him in person, I'm going to let him know. But the very next thing I would do is upgrade the case if possible. This is an MATX platform, so if he looks for an MATX upgrade, plenty of really high airflow MATX switches in the market, sub $100 that we could look into. I'll be sure to recommend a few of those if he's interested in hearing them. But yeah, overall, I'm sorry that this wasn't like a super in-depth, you know, study of the broken system. We just couldn't get it to break, and while that might not make for the most enjoyable video, I think it's the best case scenario for the owner. With that, if you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. That would be greatly appreciated. Let me know in the comment section below what you would have done differently, especially if you like a brick and mortar, maybe you were charging for labor and the troubleshooting process. What would you have done? I mean, in this situation here where you don't really have the ability to replicate the issue described, I mean, we saw the temperature problem, and that was something I wanted to address, but beyond that, I can't fix what I can't see. I think that's the overarching theme of this video. I cannot fix what I cannot see. That's why these issues have to be easily repeatable, because if not, I'm just shooting in the dark, and I'm not even shooting real bullets, I'm shooting blanks, because half the stuff I do might not even impact the stability of the system, because I don't know what's actually unstable about it. Oh, it's frustrating. Not from, you know, I'm not frustrated at the owner, because I don't blame him. If I had seen what he was showing us in these clips, I definitely would have submitted my rig as well. It's just frustrating that I can't actually see the real problem, and because I can't, there's really not much I can do. I don't know, maybe it comes back in the future with a more repeatable issue, and we can address it then. For now, everything looks to be healthy, apart from, again, those CPU temperatures. Be sure to subscribe, by the way, if you haven't already. I haven't mentioned that. And again, if you have a broken system that you want a chance to have fixed for free in this series, be sure to click the form link.
Why you get so far away from me?
Thanks for learning with me.
Shattered the prey shield. Reloading. Took out a joke. They're hitting me. Better angle at Echo's location.
Just right down there is the,
This is the remarkable moment a YouTuber broke open a case that had been unsolved for a decade. There in the water, a car belonging to 59-year-old Donald Irwin, an Army veteran who went missing in Missouri's Ozarks back in December 2013.
Going through your mind. I went through all the emotions. But at the same time, I knew I had a job to do.
James Tinkle's YouTube channel, Echo Divers, specializes in missing person cases. He's been looking into Irwin's case for the past year.
Just got out a map and just made a list of places that we thought we probably should go check.
He and his team used a drone for the aerial search, retracing the route Irwin likely took the morning he went missing. Tinkle taking out his kayak once it looked like something could be in the water.
In the center of my kayak, I have sonar equipment mounted, and that sonar equipment allows us to see what's actually down inside the water.
After identifying the Hyundai Elantra as a match, the Camden County, Missouri Sheriff's Office and their cadaver dogs found remains in the pond, along with an artificial pit consistent with the one Irwin had. But the discovery, Hinkle says, happened because of a very particular set of circumstances.
The landowner had just baled up hay around the pond. and it was sitting at the top of the hill, and by itself, it rolled down the hill and went into the water. That thing acts as a filter and cleans up the water. If that hadn't have happened, I could have flown over it and not seen the car.
After 10 years, Eagle's team bringing closure to grieving families. Have you been in touch with any of the family members?
Yvonne is Donnie's sister, and she's been the driving force behind this the entire time. The first thing that I said to her was, I'm sorry that this is your Christmas present. And she said, no, you gave me my brother.
Wow, and Maura Barrett joined us now from Chicago. Maura, this is an incredible story, and this all unfolded just before Christmas. So what are the next steps here in the investigation?
Well, thankfully, forensic pathologists will need to examine the remains and the hip to make sure that they do, in fact, are consistent with those of Mr. Irwin, that they are confident that it is a match. And a specific cause of death is yet to be determined, but investigators expressed gratitude for all the volunteers that helped with this 10-year-long case. Maura Barrett, thanks so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
So give me a cheer if you're having some drinks tonight. Yeah. I love that. I love getting drunk with my friends, right? I love it because when you start getting drunk with every little thing that you manage to do, right? Like I'd be wasted and I could just hear them whispering in the background. They're like, oh my god, she can stand. Oh my god, she can walk. And I'm just like, oh my god. Wait till they see me drive. Just a bit of fun. After a drunken night, I hate getting into that taxi ride home. I hate taxis. Like, once I got in a taxi ride so terrible, I started fantasizing about public transport. And I just wanted to ditch this taxi mid-trip, but I'm also a really awkward person, and I'm a terrible liar. So I was like to the taxi driver, oh, you know what, it's alright, you can just drop me off here. It's fine. And he went, but I thought you said you lived in Epping. And I was like, oh no, I forgot. My home is actually here. I forgot. I actually live in the Lane Cove Tunnel. Now, I love doing live comedy again. Like, it's nice to be back doing live comedy. I remember when we couldn't do it over the pandemic, right? It was really brutal. I had to pick up all these new hobbies. Like, I started watching MMA. Now, I used to think that MMA was a pointless sport between two overly aggressive men. But then I watched a match between an Asian chick and a white chick, and the Asian chick won, and now I love MMA. It's so good seeing an Asian woman in that much power. Because you don't see that a lot in the media. Like, the last Asian woman that I can think of, pre-Squid Game, is Kim Jong-un's sister. But the thing is, I'm so used to associating Asian women in the media with K-pop, I imagine that's how she gives out her orders. It's just like, death to America. I remember the pandemic really clearly in my mind as well, because I lived all by myself through all of lockdown. It was brutal, like no good for my mental health. Like the entire time it felt like my emotions were bouncing around all over the place. Kind of like that Microsoft Windows screensaver. It'd just be like angry, sad, horny. And sometimes I do that thing where it gets caught in the corner. Horny, sad, horny, sad. Shame. Also during the pandemic, I started posting videos online. Yeah. And the first time I did this, I started getting comments on them. Like, I got this one comment, and it was like, you're not funny. And then I got another comment that was like, you should quit comedy. And I was just like, wow, 2 comments, that's so good! But by far the comment that I get the most is about my voice. And I'm aware that my face is Chinese, but my voice makes it sound like I start fights at pubs. I think I'd be a great telemarketer for the pokies. Or a great spokesperson for the casino. Because my voice attracts the bogans and my face attracts the high rollers.
Level 1 shield. They've got
Sometimes I like to imagine my voice and my face as different people. You know, like my face would obviously be someone Oriental, and my voice would be someone who still uses the word Oriental.
Out of energy ammo.
Look, the comments that I get online, they can be quite mean sometimes. Like, I got this comment the other day, and it said, just because you're a citizen doesn't mean you're Australian. And I just replied, cunt.
You and me now.
How's that for Australian?
Taking a new angle.
But look, I wasn't born here. I was born in a different country, and I did actually have to take a citizenship test. And it's quite difficult. What they do is they take you up into a little room, and then you have to prove that you can do the nut push.
Got our teammate person spanner thing.
It's tricky. My relatives also moved to Australia as well. And that basically meant that I went to a lot of different citizenship ceremonies. But because I was a little kid, I thought they were...
No, let me get him!
I was just like, wow, Australia loves me. But then I went over to Queensland and I was like, oh no, they don't! Yeah, I do see China in the headlines a lot though. Like, here's a really common headline that I see about China. It's like, China's gonna take over the world. I read that and I'm like, oh no. Then I remember that I'm Chinese and I'm like, oh.
Can't keep a hard bloke down.
Yeah, it is. Hi guys, Eddie here. Okay, so today I'm going to tell you guys about the whole Twitch Korea situation. As many of you guys know, I am from Korea, even though some people might think that I'm from the US, but I am, because, and also I'm never in Korea. I'm always moving around, and I speak English on the stream, so a lot of people do think I'm from the US, but I am actually a partner with Twitch Korea. My nationality is Korean, and my permanent residence is also in Korea. So, yesterday, Twitch CEO announced that Twitch is shutting down Twitch Korea altogether. So, main reason
I'm looking for marksman optics.
I think number one, because of ISP or internet usage fee or ISP? I think it's ISP. That is 10 times more expensive than
Got us
the
a new
US.
kill leader.
So,
Wouldn't mind saying good day to
it's
him.
not Twitch's fault, it's more like how expensive Korea ISP is for international business to run streaming platform. You know, their business, so they should be making profit. But apparently, because ISP price is 10 times more expensive than other countries in the US, they were not making any profit. They decided to actually, earlier in 2023, they disabled clips and VOD from Twitch, and also they downgraded the resolution from 1080 to 720. And a lot of people were saying, like, what? Like, you know, like, why are they downgrading it instead of, like, upgrading? A lot of people couldn't understand, but I guess that was probably in order to reduce the price, and then try to try to make the Twitch Korea sustainable. However, they made a decision that even though they make the resolution to 480p, like, who wants to watch 480p stream anyway? But even if they do so, and then trying to maintain Twitch Korea, they said it's not going to be able to, it's not going to be sustainable, and then Twitch Korea is not going to make any money. Well, and then what they said is, okay, so we're going to try our best to help you move the platform. Okay.
I smell them first, though.
Now, this is, I know it's not Twitch's fault. I know Korea government, like, and then Korea, like, internet fee or ISP or whatever. I know that it's, like, way too expensive, and then, you know, they're doing whatever is good for a company. But, that means we basically Twitch, basically streamers who stream
Level 3.
on Twitch, whose residence is in Korea. Basically, they're all Twitch streamers are all
Launching to a new angle.
Yeah, I've been streaming on Twitch
Some prey
for
there.
6 years and a half. I started from 2017, and then I've been streaming for 6 years and a half. and I built my followers, my community. I dedicated my life, my time, basically my life. And
Reloading. We're all inside the ring.
well,
Good.
this happened. And it's all of a sudden they're like,
Just try and hide with that shiny tag on you.
we have 2 months and a half because they said they were terminating
My train's down.
Korea on February 27th, and they're like, yeah, well, move to another platform. Look.
Shoot him.
And I have all the is streaming for international audience, and they are all devastated. We are putting our hats together, trying to figure out.
What do you want to do?
And everything. We've been talking for hours, and yeah, but it is shocking. This is very bad news. That the thing that I just told you guys. But the good news is, I think, and we all think, actually, Korean streamers, we figured out a way, and then we can stay on Twitch. I will be able to stay on Twitch like 100%. I am asking lawyers, agency, and then TSM, my esports team, and they're all willing to help. And I also have US taxpayer number. So I should really, it should really be a big problem to change from US Korea to US. No, not US Korea.
Here's got level 1 shield.
Twitch Korea
No
to
one must put that.
Twitch US. So basically, I'm getting from Korea. However, I will be able to get hired again. And then I'm hoping that
10 seconds,
a
the ring's
lot of
just
other
ahead.
friends who are also streaming on Twitch that have Korean, that have Korea contract. They contracted with Twitch Korea.
Ring update for you. We ain't
Find
in
out
it.
a way. There are actually ways to stream on Twitch still. They just have to So, but yeah, well, we're so worried. I have 2 months left or something, and then a lot of my friends are flying. But there's always a way.
Close to me.
There's always a way.
Stand back.
Me, my friends, my community, everyone to get through this and Twitch. Find out the way. Stay on Twitch. I am not super worried. Of course I am worried, and then there are a lot of things to
right here.
around and Twitter, and then read, and then study, and everything, and then we help each other, and it is going to be complicated. There are a lot of friends.
Right here. Close to me.
And also, real good.
On your feet. Lifeline's got your back.
Anyway, thank you very much for this whole Korea situation.
1 minute till ring close.
And I'll see you guys on the
Don't worry, I got
and
your
also I'll
squad
see you
mates
guys
banner.
on the next video.
Got a replicator coming down.
To any Korean booba streamers watching, I will take the noble and heavy sacrifice and marry any of you for the green card. If you're down with a big
What?
Jesus, dude.
High brightness, high accuracy, great screen. It feels boring to give it to Samsung because, one, their products now come out in January, so it's been so much time since it came out.
Also impressive, though, that they can pull off a win when they're arguably 10 months behind.
Yeah, they're actually a
That's
processor behind now.
Yeah.
They're already a processor behind. Yeah, I thought about giving us the OnePlus Open, which is a phone we'll talk about later. Yeah. But yeah, Find X6 Pro is it's really close. It didn't just have the extra zoom. ROG Phone 7 doesn't have wireless charging. Yeah. It does have much better speakers though. So I was just kind of, the boring one. It just wins. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. All right. Best compact phone. Best small phone. This is a funny one too because phones have been stratifying.
Hello, guys and gals, me Mutahara, and Google settled a $5 billion lawsuit. For how much? Nobody knows, ladies and gentlemen. Those details aren't out there. But Google was caught basically kind of being a little shady about incognito mode. Now, you might be wondering, what are you talking about that title? Incognito mode isn't really incognito? You know, I never really thought I'd have to make a video discussing how incognito mode in a browser doesn't actually protect your information or keep you incognito on the internet. But it seems like there's been a lot of mass confusion, which has basically caused Google to settle a lawsuit regarding the mass confusion, okay? So I guess let's get down to the facts of the matter here, okay? So according to some of these articles here, Google settled a class action lawsuit on Thursday, this Thursday, brought by users who allege the search giant captured and tracked their data while in incognito mode. So incognito mode, for those of you who have no idea, is a browser mode in Chrome, and I'm sure a lot of you probably know about it because you might be watching some unsavory videos on the internet. As soon as you open the incognito tab by clicking this top three buttons going to new incognito, you'll notice it says, now you can browse privately, and other people who use this device won't see your activity. However, downloads, bookmarks, reading list items will be saved. Chrome won't save the following information: your browser history, cookies, site data, information entered in forums. Your activity might still be visible to websites you visit, your employer or school, or your internet service provider. So to give you an idea, these 3 points I want to talk specifically about. When you go to a website like www.partsniffers.com, partsniffers.com is probably going to have a bunch of cookies, trackers. It's going to have a log of who's connected, what browsers, user agents. It's going to have a profile of people, specifically the trackers. But websites know who's going where. By hitting incognito mode, it's not as if you mask your IP address or you hide the key identifiers that are on the outside-facing part of your network. You don't do any of that. Though your employer or school is important. Whenever you're browsing the internet at work or in a school, it's always governed underneath an IT professional or somebody that is monitoring your system specifically. Now, it's not against Soren watching you, but generally speaking, if you watch adult material, for instance, at your job, okay, you connect to a shady website at your job, and something bad happens, an IT professional will take literally minutes to figure out who went where, what computer it belonged to, and what account was signed into. So that's kind of how schools, employers work. Your internet service provider. Yeah, when you buy internet from somebody like, Bell, Rogers, Verizon, I don't know what's in the United States, AT&T, all these internet service providers, they know exactly what you're doing, okay? That's not really a shocking concept. Your information is routed from your computer to their servers and then to other servers on the internet. So that's not a shocking concept. For me, I never really thought that most people wouldn't understand this, but I guess here we are. So let's look at the actual court documentation for this. Now, the court document back in the day was from the plaintiffs versus Google as the defendant. So here, the plaintiffs here bring a class action based on Google's surreptitious interception and collection of personal and sensitive user data as users are in private browsing mode, they say. So it contains 7 counts of the violation, the background relevant to the resolution of Google's motion for summary judgment. So when we talk about things like data collection, plaintiffs are Google's account holders who use 2 types of private browsing modes: incognito mode, which is found in the Chrome browser, like I just showed you a minute ago, and the private browsing mode of other browsers. So again, this could be things like Firefox, Brave, really anything else, okay? So private browsing and incognito. Remember, Google calls it incognito, Firefox calls it private, other browsers call it usually private browsing. Generally, I think all of this is deception. I think these modes should be called local cache only, okay? Or guest mode, I think, is probably the smart option to talk about. So to give you an idea what incognito does, is it basically creates a sandbox environment for your browser. So you open up your web browser, you're on the internet. As soon as you open up incognito mode, it creates a special sandbox, kind of like a virtual machine, kind of like a partitioned area that is supposed to be deleted upon you exiting the browser. What this does is it stores all of the information for that session in that sandbox alone. So for a local system, right, it is completely incognito. It means that a guest can browse on your system and none of their information gets. A website known as coveryourtracks.eff. So this is going to show you what a browser looks like. Now on the left, you have an incognito version of the same browser. So this browser is in private incognito mode, and this is in standard, my local default mode. So this drives, so they know my time zone offsets, they know my time zone.
How can this game be still broken?
They know my resolution exactly. They also know down to which fonts that I'm using on my system. What they also know is the Linux system that I'm using, so they know what.
How can it be this bad? I don't.
That I'm using. They know my touch support.
Joke.
They know things like my ad blockers. They know all of the shit inside the system. Okay, they know my exact partition currencies, the amount of CPUs that I have. Basically, the identifying information for my browser is still the same, no matter if I'm incognito or not. Which means for a tracker, like Google for instance, they could still look at the incognito version and determine that it is you. That's really the crux of this argument. People, I guess, thought that their information was private and nobody was going to track them, when in reality, incognito never meant no, because Google portrayed incognito mode, for example, as affording more privacy than regular browsing mode. A reasonable user could have concluded that Google's data collection was not mode agnostic. So like I just told you a while ago, even if you're in incognito mode, a lot of the information that is used to profile you, to fingerprint you, is the same. So when you connect to a Google tracker or anything of that nature, Google can still send you relevant information because they know with a reasonable, understanding that even if that browser from that computer, even if it's an incognito session or not, the fact that for the Google tracker picking it up, they don't even care if it is. They just know that all of the similarities, like this person is using the same CPU, the same operating system, their monitor is the same resolution, they're from the same time offset, they're from so on and so forth. Their IP address is the same. They're going to reasonably assume that it is the same person, even if they clicked on the incognito flag or not. All incognito did was prevent your local system from storing that specific session. So realistically, when people say incognito is for porn, that's quite literally what it's there for. It's there to not store your active session, okay? So somebody can't just log into your system, click on the history tab, and see what kind of stuff you've been watching.
What are we talking
That's literally the only actual case use for it. Other than that, testing. That's about it. So looking beyond some of their other things,
or to go to have a new browser that's not logged into the account, so you can have a multiple accounts that you can just log into and have different tabs for them. Come on.
For example, Facebook tracking, finding standing not just because Facebook correlated data collected with user profiles, but also because Facebook had promised not to collect user data.
To look at a profile from a public point of view without being logged in as yourself.